was the first in my family to get a college education. I was the first in my family to be an entrepreneur. I was the first in my family to be a millionaire. Caesar's dad was a taxi cab driver in NYC. When most of his classmates went to college, Caesar chose the streets. Now he went from owning 1 unit to over 1,000 units. Caesar, aka Flippin' New Jersey, is successful. We're two dudes from two different hoods with the same goal: feeding our family and financial freedom. What up? It's DJ Envy, and welcome to Caesar and Envy's Real Estate Webinar, all right? Now, today you're going to learn a lot, so we're going to allow people to come in a little bit. We start a little late, just a little bit late. We just want to get everybody involved, all right? And while you guys are getting yourself together, you're setting up your cameras or you're setting up your laptops or your phones, just going to give you a little bit of information. If you want to holler at us, you can. Caesar and DJ Envy at gmail.com. If you want to holler, you can follow us on Instagram. That's at DJ Envy or at flippin_NJ. Hit us up. If you got deals, if you got questions, we'll definitely take your questions, DMs, social media, all that good stuff. All right. Now, today is going to be a great seminar. So people always ask, why? Why did we get into doing seminars? Was it to make money? No. If you go to other people's seminars, they charge $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 for seminars. We don't believe in that. Why? Because if you have that much money to invest into a seminar, we prefer you invest it into a property. So that's the reason why you'll never see us doing that. Are there overcharges, overage? Is there other things that you do? No, we don't charge anything for this seminar outside of what you had to pay to get here. So there is no, we talk for 2 minutes and then if you want to hear the rest of it, you got to pay $10,000. There is no surrogate where somebody talks and then you never get to hear Caesar talk or myself talk and explain how we did it. That doesn't work. We are not one of those seminars or webinars. We really like to teach people how to get into the game. Now people say, well, why? Well, the reason I got into it was because I do a show called The Breakfast Club. And I had to think, what about if one of my co-hosts, Charlemagne or Angela Yee, or even myself, say something that get us fired? Says something that get us kicked off of radio? How would I pay for my family? My wife likes expensive things. So do my kids. But How do I continue on that? How do I pay for my mortgage? How do I pay for food for the kids and schooling and all that other stuff? I needed to create something that no matter what I did, I can still make sure my bills will be paid. I can still be comfortable and not have to do anything illegal or whatever it may be, my house be foreclosed on. So I said, what is that? And I said, real estate. You know, if you look at some of the wealthiest people, a lot of them made their fortunes off of real estate. And I said, this is something that I want to get into and I want to learn. I want to create generational wealth. We started doing these seminars because we realized when we go to a lot of these auction houses and we see people bidding, they don't really look like us. You don't really see too many minorities really getting into real estate. And usually that's because we were never taught. You know, my dad, he worked for 30 years. My mom worked for 30 years and they retired. That's what we were taught to do. Work, retire, and then what? Then nothing. So we had to teach ourselves how to create generational wealth. So now that Caesar, who owns over 1,000 units, and myself that owns 140 something units, we taught ourselves. So now we're trying to make sure you guys are getting into the game and learning for yourself. We're not going to force your hand. We're not charging you a lot of money. No, we just want you to do the homework and look for yourself. I love going to auction houses. I love bidding against my own people. I love it. These are our communities that people are buying. Brooklyn, Harlem, Jersey City, Chicago, Detroit, Miami, Atlantic City, Pittsburgh. These are our areas. What do? They buy our areas up for nothing, cheap, low prices, push us out, rebuild our areas, and then charge us 3, 4, 5, 6 times the rent to get back there. We've seen it in Brooklyn. You know, areas in Brooklyn was the worst. Now you look now and you can't get a brownstone for no less than $1 million. At one time they were $200,000. Same thing with Detroit. I was buying properties for $15,000, $25,000. Now those same properties are $200,000, $300,000, $400,000. Our areas. Same thing with Chicago and Atlantic City. So we have to know what we're looking at and we have to invest. People are always scared. Well, it's a pandemic, coronavirus. Oh, I'm gone. I'm not invested. Well, this is how the rich stay rich. They sit back and they wait for everybody to get scared. They wait for prices to go down and they buy and they hold. And when it's over, that house that they bought for $100,000 is now worth $400,000. It's now worth $500,000. And that's what we have to do. We have to keep investing in our community, keep our communities, and make sure that we can make money off of our communities and not just give it away. So now when we talk about real estate, we break it down and say, okay, if I want to get into the real estate game, what's the first thing I need? I need credit. So that's how we're breaking down today's webinar. We're starting with credit. You have to have a good credit score if you want to get a loan. Credit matters. I see a lot of you out there with stacks of money and jewelry and cars and sneakers and all that's good. But it makes you nothing. Unless you're somebody that buys sneakers and invests and flips and makes that money. But before you buy your Gucci belt, your Ferragamo belt, your Balenciaga sneakers, invest into a property. Invest in something that's going to make you money every month. So credit is the first spot. You have to get your credit to a certain limit. So first we're going to be talking to the credit dude. Credit dude is going to be breaking down credit and explaining what you need to do to make sure your credit is good, what's a great credit score, and how to stay away from people that's just looking to suck your money and not really help you with credit. So let me introduce the credit dude.
Hey, what's going on, guys? It's the credit dude, and I'm really excited you guys are here. Unfortunately, we're doing a pandemic, coronavirus season, and it's a little crazy. A lot of people have questions. A lot of people have questions about their credit. What do I do with my mortgage, with my auto loan, my credit cards, my student loans, my business accounts? And I'm going to pretty much be teaching you here some things you can do to not only help your credit, but also to pretty much take your credit to the next level. In case you have good credit, I'm going to teach you how you can get better credit and eventually great credit, right? So if you're looking to get into real estate, one of the things you got to do is have a decent credit score, right? I mean, you can get into wholesaling without any credit, but if you're looking to do investment properties and you're looking to have them pull your credit, you do need to have some type of credit score. You do need to have some type of pretty much good history. And I'm gonna pretty much break everything down for you so you can pretty much understand how it works, how you can fix your credit, how you can improve your credit, and then also how you can take your credit to the next level and then eventually start getting business credit. So pretty much, what is credit? Like, what's a credit report? You know, there's a lot of things out there. There's a lot of places that are pretty much giving you, you know, free Credit Sesame, you know, creditsesame.com. You got Credit Karma. You got freecreditscore.com. You got Experian. Then you got annual credit reports. Like, well, what's the difference between everything, right? So the first thing you got to do, if you're looking to get a mortgage, or if you're looking to apply for an investment property, you got to know where you start, right? You got to know where your pretty much your starting point is. So if you're not getting your credit pulled by a mortgage lender, right, you can actually go to annualcreditreport.com, or what we like to use is Identity IQ, right? Anything that I say, I'm just going to say click the link in my bio on Instagram, because we have all these links there as a reference for you. So that way you can pretty much have it all in one location for you to go and apply for it or look at it. So when you look at your credit report, sometimes you don't even know what you're looking at. You know, you're like, what is this late payment? What is this collection? I have no idea. So get your credit report. You can pretty much start there. Identity IQ, annualcreditreport.com. You can pretty much get all 3 credit reports for free. The only thing is, it doesn't provide a credit score. So that's why we like Identity IQ and or a mortgage report that you get from a mortgage lender that is that can tell you your score. Now, here's the thing. If you're not in the market for a mortgage, you can't just go to a lender and say, hey, pull my credit, right? You have to be in the market. So it's like, if you know you're in the market for a mortgage, get your mortgage report. If not, you can use one of these other places that I'm telling you. And a credit report is pretty much the data, right? That's all the data that's on your credit report. And a credit score is what's driven by the data. So if you know you have late payments, if you know you have maxed out credit cards, if you know you have collections accounts, you're gonna have a low credit score, right? So don't be so alarmed and telling or afraid to have a lender pull your credit, because you have to know where you're gonna start. So it's like one of those things where people are like, oh, don't pull my credit, but you really haven't paid your bills in like 6 months. Like it's okay that they're gonna pull your credit, right? So there's a lot of credit scores out there. There's a lot of credit reports. When a mortgage lender pulls your credit, they're using 3 scoring algorithms with all 3 bureaus, right? So you have Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, and they're gonna be pulling your FICO 2, 4, and 5 score. And the reason why this is important is because when you look at your Credit Karma score and they pull your report, they're only giving you Equifax and TransUnion and your Vantage 3.0 score. So in a sense, if you look at Credit Karma and it says you have a 780, you're gonna go to the mortgage company and they're gonna be like, no, you got a 620. Or vice versa. They can say your Credit Karma score is 620 and the mortgage score is gonna say 780, right? There's a lot of different parameters, there's a lot of different things that get calculates your credit score, and I'm gonna break down a couple of them so you can understand why there's a difference in each bureau and or why there's a difference with each credit score. So 35% of your credit score is payment history. So if you have a credit card and you haven't paid it in a year, or last year you had a late payment, that's gonna affect 35% of your score. The more late payments you have, the more it's gonna affect it. So when you take a look at your credit score starts at 300 and goes all the way to 850, right? So if you have 35% of your credit score, you have 550 points, that's 192.5 points. And the reason why I say that is because it's a lot of points. When you say 35%, you're like, it's only 35% of my score. But when you say 192.5 points, imagine if you're late 1 time, 2 times, 3 times on 4 or 5 different credit cards, it can drop your score a lot, right? So you wanna make sure you prevent any type of late payments on your credit report whatsoever to the best extent possible. Right now, with everything going on with the coronavirus, you should have already called all your creditors. And if you haven't, you want to call your mortgage company, your car company, your credit card company, student loans, auto loan. I mean, anything that's on your credit report, you want to call them. You're going to be on the phone for a while. So just get ready, because they are going to have you pretty much on hold with everything going on. A lot of those banks have people working from home. But pretty much you want to say, hey, what are my options? Is there any relief? Even though we're in May and they proved this like back in like March, they're still giving relief. So don't think, I missed the cutoff. There's no cutoff, right? So we're still in the pandemic. We're still here. The CARES Act was passed by President Trump. So there's a lot of protection that you have when it comes to your credit scores with late payments, right? Now the next thing is 30% debt utilization. The reason why this is important is because we get a lot of clients that like, I don't understand why my credit score is bad. I have no late payments, no collections. Everything is good. I pay my bills on time. We look at that credit report. all their credit cards are maxed out. So you want to make sure that you keep your debt utilization low. Your debt utilization is pretty much the balances you have in your credit cards in relations to the limit. So the lower the balance and the more limit you have available, the higher your score is going to be. That's 165 points, which is 30 points, 30%. So if you look at it, 192.5 points, 165 points when it comes to debt utilization, you're talking about over 300 points. So if you're late and then you max stuff out, you're going to pretty much put yourself in a position that you're going to knock yourself out of the ballpark with getting approved for a mortgage. So those are the two biggest things, right? Those are the two biggest things. And even if you were late, like in February, January, March, still ask them, hey, I was affected by coronavirus. Like, is there any way you can still give me, grant me extension, a deferment, or even waive the late payments that I had since January? A lot of creditors are doing it, but if you don't ask them, they're not just going to automatically give it to you. Late payments are one of the hardest things to remove from the credit report, but it's not impossible. It's not impossible to remove late payments from your credit report, even if it's before January. You can ask them for a goodwill adjustment. You can ask them, hey, I just want to make sure that my late payments are being reported accurately. The less late payments you have, the better. But then also, if you have late payments, the farther away, the better too. So don't think that just because you have late payments, it's the end of the world. Now, when it comes to 30% debt utilization, we have a lot of clients that say, all I have is a $300 credit card. So the minute I charge $150, my credit score goes down. Or I don't have any credit cards for that matter, so I'm not able to get anything. I'm going to give you guys some great credit cards that you guys can get approved for that's going to increase your utilization even if you have great credit. People that we've referred to these cards, they've had nothing but good things to say about them. So the two credit cards, which I said, they're in the link in my bio on Instagram, the Credit Dude, it's My Jewelers Club and New Coast Direct. Why are these cards pretty much a hidden secret and why are they so good? It's because they pretty much approve 90% of people for a $5,000 amount. And the reason why I say 90% of the people is because there are some people that get denied. If you don't have verifiable income, if you don't have a credit score at all, they won't approve you, okay? So My Jewelers Club and New Coast Direct. Get out of the habit of getting a secured credit card to build your credit. Not saying it doesn't work. We would still suggest you to get a secured credit card because you can use that anywhere. But My Jewelers Club and New Coast Direct is going to give you $10,000 between both cards. So imagine you spending $200 to get $10,000. Instead, you're spending $200 to get one secured credit card. The minute you put $100 on that secured credit card, you're at 50%. So that's why you don't want to do that. And I'm not saying it's a bad idea, right? Get the My Jewelers Club, the New Coast Direct, add that $10,000 in credit cards to your credit report. It's yours. It's not a trade line, and I'm going to touch on that as well. It's your account. The next thing you want to do is, if you don't already have it, is get a self-lender account. Self-lender is really good. Self-lender is pretty much a savings account that you pay every month, and they report those payments to your credit. And I'm going to tell you a reason why that's good is because now you have two credit cards, you have an installment loan, and you're pretty much diversifying your credit, and that's going to help you out. That actually contributes to 10% of your credit score. The more credit mix you have, that's 10%. So now you can get the secured credit card where you can swipe everywhere if you want it. If not, apply for a regular Capital One. Start applying for regular credit cards and then keep the utilization low. With the two $5,000 credit cards, you're not going to spend $5,000 on each card. You're going to maybe spend $100, $200. So your utilization is going to be very low. Now your score is going to shoot up. And that's pretty much what we need to do in order to get you the lowest rate when it comes to getting a mortgage. The next thing you want to make sure you do is if you already have credit and if you already have credit cards, call them for a credit limit increase. If you're not calling, or you should be calling all your creditors, let's say at least once a year. If you have 5 credit cards, you should be maybe doing one in January, another one in March, another one in July, August, and then maybe December, right? Every year, you should be calling all your credit card companies. As long as your utilization is low, no late payments, your balances are okay, and then also you have no new negative items, you want to start increasing your credit. If you started with a $5,000 credit card, a $200 credit card, you don't want to stay there. You want to continually increase those credit cards so that way you can increase your ratio, your capacity, and that's ultimately going to raise your credit score. And I'm going to tell you why at the end when it comes to business credit, why this is so important. Because you want to have at least, right, you want to just keep increasing all of your credit card limits over the years. Don't stay stagnant. Don't stay with those low limits because your score is eventually not going to keep rising. It's just going to stay where it is. So the next thing is inquiries. We get a lot of questions about this. We get a lot of people that say, I went to a car dealership, they ran my credit, it dropped 100 points because Credit Karma said so. It's not possible, right? It's not mathematically possible for your credit score to drop 100 points when it comes to inquiries. Why? Because your inquiries only affect 10% of your credit score. 10%. So 10% of that 550 is 55 points. So when somebody says my credit score dropped 100 points, it's not true. If you're shopping around for a mortgage and they pull your credit score within 30 days, right? All those inquiries only count as one anyway. So if you get one on Tuesday, another one on Wednesday, another one on Friday, it's going to show up 3 different times, but it's only going to count as one. And then for the first 30 days, doesn't even get calculated towards your credit score, which is also important, right? Because if you're going for a mortgage, sometimes you want to get the best rate. Should only, go see Matt, the mortgage guy. He can pretty much get you that rate you're looking for, okay? So don't worry so much about inquiries. Don't worry so much about people pulling your credit because you have to get a mortgage and they have to look at it, right? So the other thing is when it comes to the CARES Act, which I wanted to touch on, is they're extending also payments for auto loans. So if you have an auto loan and your car payments are like $500 a month and they give you a 6-month extension, that's like almost $3,000 that pretty much now you can be like, all right, well, I have a 6-month extension with my car. Let me go ahead and put that monthly payment that I was paying towards my car, towards my credit card debt. Now you're lowering utilization and increasing your credit score. Don't just take that $500 and spend it, right? They're going to put those 6 months payments on the back end of the loan, and it's pretty much going to adjust your terms with your auto loan. Student loans, they're pretty much federal. They gave everybody 6 months. With private loans, it's different. So you have to make sure you call your private student loan providers to make sure that they give you an extension. Now, let's say you have student loans that are negative. You haven't paid them. You're in collections. You're in default, whatever the case is. There's a website called studentloans.gov. So student loans with an S at the end, .gov. You can go on this website and consolidate your student loans into one. The reason why I always advise people to consolidate their student loans is for this specific reason. A lot of your loans are put into like 6-7 times in your credit report, right? What happens if you're late one time with your student loans? You get a 30-day extension, you get a 60-day extension, but then they're only going to report a 90-day late payment when it comes to federal student loans. So now imagine if you have 7 or 8 student loans with a 90-day late payment, your score is going to go it's not going to go through the roof, it's going to go to the floor. So you want to make sure that if you are, unfortunately, we can't foresee the future, but if you consolidate all your student loans into one, now if you're late, it's only going to hit you one time, not 8 different times. So make sure you consolidate your student loans. Very, very important that you do that. The other thing is these next 2 accounts are pretty much when they're negative, right? You have collection accounts and you have charge-offs. Charge-offs are pretty much accounts that you didn't pay for at least 180 days. That credit card or installment or auto loan pretty much wrote it off and you still owe the debt. There's a lot of people out there that say, oh, when it's charged off, you don't owe the debt. And you're going to get screwed because you could potentially get sued for this. So if you have charge-offs on your credit report, you can legally dispute it for accuracy. So you want to dispute it. Maybe they issued you a cancellation of debt. Maybe it's the wrong debt. Maybe you paid it. Whatever the case is. So charge-off accounts, you definitely want to make sure that you dispute it at least 1 or 2 times for accuracy. The Fair Credit Reporting Act states that you as a consumer, if you feel that something is inaccurate in your credit report, you can dispute it. Now here's the thing. If it comes back accurate and it didn't work to remove it because it's accurate, you got to pay it, right? Don't try to evade debt. Don't try to sit here and be like, oh, I'm not going to pay this debt. It's just going to go away. Because the next thing you know, you're going to get sued, you're going to have a collection, and you're going to put your credit in more jeopardy than by not paying it. So charge-offs, don't try to ignore them. And if you owe it, you will have to end up paying it because debt is not something that just magically disappears. And then when it comes to collection accounts, a lot of people are putting information or just saying that collection accounts are something you don't have to pay. It's illegal to put collection accounts on your credit report, or that collection accounts are not something that have to be paid. Here's the thing. If you have a debt with a creditor, an auto loan company, a doctor's office, whatever the case is, if there's a debt that exists, a collection agency can come after you. The thing is, are they coming after you legally, which is the difference, right? Is there a bill of sale? Are they a licensed collection agency? Are they licensed in your state, in their state? Are they a legit collection agency? Look at their Better Business Bureau complaints. Do they have a lot of complaints? Have they been sued by the Federal Trade Commission? Has this Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the CFPB, have they came after them, right? Not every single collection agency is illegal, and not every single collection agency is breaking the law. So just make sure you do your homework on which collection agency that you have on your credit report. And I'm going to give you guys pretty much some free tips or some free things on collection agencies that will actually delete the account if you pay it. The thing is, a collection agency is not supposed to remove a collection account from your credit report just because you pay it. There's nothing that says that. But Portfolio Recovery Associates, they will. Midland Funding, LVNV Funding, Jefferson Capital Systems, Calvary Portfolio Services. Those are 5 collection agencies right there that if you pay them and you call them up, you settle with them, if the debt is legit and it's valid, it's within the statute of limitations, you disputed it, it came back as accurate, and you owe it, they'll delete it once you pay it. Because guess what's going to happen? If you don't pay it and you just keep going on thinking that you're going to keep disputing, sending a letter, hiring someone to remove it, they're going to sue you. They're going to sue you for it. So now you have what's called, you went from a charge off, you into a collection, which is another account on your credit report. Then now you have a judgment. A judgment is when they actually sue you for the debt. And before you close on a mortgage, you can't have any open judgment. So now it probably grew from a $500 charge off to a $600 collection to now a $1,000 judgment, when you could have just satisfied it with the charge off and the collection wouldn't have appeared and the judgment wouldn't exist. So just make sure that you're doing your due diligence when it comes to these collection agencies. Google them, dispute it. If you need our help, we can help you with that, right? But you don't want to just ignore your debt that's negative and thinking that somehow it's just magically going to go away and that the collection agency is breaking the law by trying to collect that debt. Just make sure that they're legit. That's what it is. Just make sure that they're a legit collection agency, and you won't have any problems when it comes to that. Now, the last thing I want to go over is pretty much business credit. When you as a consumer start fixing your credit or have great credit, there's going to be a time where you're like, you know what? I want to open up a business, or I already have a business, or I want to start an investment properties. I want to pretty much start on my way to start pretty much separating my personal from my business debt and also my business credit. So the first thing you need to do is make sure you have an LLC, right? You need an LLC or a business, whether it's an S Corp, a C Corp, an INC. You need to have an actual business. When you have an actual business, then you get an EIN, which is a tax ID, employment identification number. So those are the 2 things you need right there. Once you get that, then you can pretty much start establishing business credit. You need a business email address. You need a business address. You need a business phone number. You need a business bank account. You need a merchant account. These are all things, if you're taking credit cards, these are all things that when you start building business credit, that the business credit providers or lenders and creditors are going to look for. So if you have your home address and your Yahoo email address and your cell number, no website, no business account, no merchant account, and you're trying to build business credit, it's not really going to work. Now, you can use your personal credit to apply for things like American Express, Chase, actual credit cards, but your credit really has to be pretty good. Not have to be great, but you have to have decent credit. You don't want to really much have any recent late payments in the last 6 months. You don't want to have any open collection accounts. You don't want to have any open charge-offs. You want to have the least amount of inquiries as possible, because now when you start applying for these business credit cards, remember in the beginning how I was telling you that you want to have the highest limits possible? That's how they're going to base your business credit approvals on. So if you're trying to go for a Chase Ink card for the business and all that you have is a $500 Capital One card, you're probably going to get approved for $2,000 Chase Ink card. But if you started building your personal credit and now you have, let's say, $30,000 to $40,000 of available credit on your personal, now they're going to approve you for a high amount when it comes to business. So that is indicative off of your personal credit. But then you have things like net 30 accounts, and you eventually have things that you can apply for with no personal guarantee. So if you're starting in an investment property and you're starting to get into real estate, you want to have that main corporation, that main business. So let's say it's the Credit Dude LLC, and that is my business account for real estate. You can start building credit for your business through that LLC. They will sometimes require you to do a personal credit check and a personal guarantee, but the great thing is it's not going to report to your personal. Now, there's one credit card that does report to your personal, is the Capital One Spark card. So as long as you know that, you can apply for it, but just don't max it out, because then that's going to affect your personal. So that pretty much sums up my presentation and my talk with you, because you want to make sure you have good credit. You want to make sure you have low debt. You want to make sure you don't have a lot of late payments. You want to make sure your credit limits are high. If you have student loans in negative standing, consolidate them. If you have low limits, call your credit card companies up and get them to increase your credit limits, right? If you don't, let's say the other thing. Let's say if you don't have the money to pay for the My Jewelers Club or the self-lender, see if you can get a family member to add you as an authorized user on one of their credit cards. Do not purchase trade lines. Do not purchase a CPN, a consumer privacy number. You're gonna get yourself in trouble, and pretty much those are no-nos in the credit industry. You don't wanna purchase trade lines, even though people are promising you the world. There was a company that was just sued for it by the Federal Trade Commission, and it's just not something you wanna do. You wanna practice everything with the safe practices and safe techniques when it comes to building your credit. And that's pretty much it. Call your credit card companies up, get some relief during coronavirus, because right now is the time. We're all home. Now is the time to take care of your credit. Now is the time to pretty much improve your credit score. So that way, when everything is over, you now are one step ahead, and boom, now you're off to the races, and you can start applying for mortgages, investment properties, business credit, credit cards, and things like that. If you need our help, and if you're looking to improve your credit score, we can help you. You can actually call our office. And what you can do is you can click the link in my bio on Instagram, schedule a consultation with one of our credit coaches. It's not going to cost you anything. So you can call up, pretty much schedule a call, 30-minute consultation. It's free. No, you don't got to give no credit card. You can ask them 1,001 questions within those 30 minutes, okay? But just know that it is a 30-minute free consultation. If it does go over, then obviously we'll be able to address it then. But that's it. And then if you decide to enroll in our company, we pretty much charge you per item deleted. This is one of the things I'm going to leave you with when it comes to credit repair. You don't want to pay people up front without doing any work. You don't want to pretty much pay people in one lump sum, and you pretty much don't want to pay people monthly without any results. Those are the three things you want to stay away from, because it's actually a violation of the Credit Repair Organizations Act that was put out by the FTC. So you don't want to pay for something you don't get. And with credit repair, that's one of the things. You got to get results, and then you can charge. So if you guys have any questions at all, please click the link in my bio, schedule a call, and I hope that you take your credit to the next level. And I look forward to seeing the keys in your hand with your next investment property. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right, now shout to the credit dude. Now, just to tell you, everybody that we're talking to today, they have helped me in a way. I've met these people not through any business, but I've actually used them. The credit dude has helped me with my credit. He's helped a bunch of people that work at my station with their credit. And he's fixed a lot of people's credit. And I mean, a lot of people had trashy credit. He was able to get them to a high number. So shout to Jose, the credit dude. Now, the next person we're going to talk to is Matt, the mortgage guy. Now, Matt works for a mortgage company, and he's able to get loans. And not just loans, refinance properties. Now it's a good time to refinance your property if you have a loan and your interest rate is high, because interest rates are at an all-time low. He'll break that down. He'll break down the FHA loans. He'll tell you how you can get a loan for 3.5%. That's very little down. He'll teach you how to house hack and more. Ladies and gentlemen, Matt, the mortgage guy.
Thank you, DJ Envy, for the introduction. I really appreciate the opportunity to be a part of the From Start to Flip movement. Hello, everyone. My name is Matt Garland, NMLS number 58700, but I'm better known as MG, the mortgage guy. So look, if you don't follow me, if you don't know who I am, I'm a licensed mortgage professional. I've been in the mortgage business for now 18 years, all right? I'm a homeowner, investor myself, and I've helped thousands of people in my career achieve the goal of ownership, whether they were looking to buy a primary residence or buy investment properties. I have clients that started out with me 10 years ago with one property with no knowledge. Now they're able to teach courses about real estate investing because of the knowledge and the help that I was able to give them. So I'm super excited to be a part of this movement. Again, thank you, Envy and Caesar, for being out there on the front lines and teaching our community how to invest in real estate and also to build generational wealth. All right. So I'm super excited to share my knowledge with you guys today. So without further delay, let's get into the presentation. All right. So I'm going to share my screen with you guys, and let's get started. All right. So today's agenda, we're going to talk about COVID-19 and the impact that COVID has had on the real estate and mortgage business. I'm gonna give you guys an update on the forbearance programs that the government came out with, because there's been a lot of updates in the month of May. Also, the refinance opportunities that's now available because of COVID-19. And one of my favorite topics, house hacking, okay? I'm gonna show you guys how to use conventional FHA financing to build your real estate portfolio, but also, most importantly, being able to use OPM, other people's money, to do this as well. All right. So let's get started. All right. So now we all know COVID has been one of the worst things that hit our economy in our country, probably since the Great Depression. Probably worse than the Great Depression, to be honest with you. There's a lot of people dying because of this deadly virus. People are being furloughed. Banks are suffering liquidity issues. So the government over the last 90 days has had to do unprecedented things during this unprecedented time to keep the markets floating, right? But during this, there's been so many different things that come about, right? The gift and the curse of this, right? So the curse of this has been credit score requirements have increased, underwriting guidelines have increased, reserve requirements for different programs, whether it's FHA, whether it's investor type loans, have increased, right? Even down payment requirements with asset-based and hard money have increased, okay? There's been so much things happening because of COVID-19 on the mortgage and underwriting space that, you know, sometimes it's hard to keep up because it seems like every single day there's some things changing. So I hope today's presentation give you guys a little bit more clarity on what has happened during COVID-19 and how you guys are able now to execute during and after this pandemic is over. All right. Forbearance programs for homeowners. When the pandemic happened, the government, everyone saw it on the news. They kept on saying, well, you don't have to pay your mortgage. You don't have to pay your mortgage. There was a lot of uncertainty, a lot of people just didn't know what to believe, what was going to happen. The government was saying, well, you can take these programs and it wouldn't affect your credit in a negative way. But all of it wasn't really that true. All right. So just to give you guys a little background, right? When you own a home and you're trying to apply for new financing, the bank is going to require that you have 12 months of on-time payments. When you take a forbearance agreement, you're agreeing not to pay mortgage over a specific amount of time. So when this happened, lenders were telling borrowers that if you take a forbearance, well, they wasn't telling people, but loan officers like myself were telling people when they tried to apply, right? But if you took that forbearance, then you couldn't refinance. You had to wait at least 12 months after the fact to refinance because you had to show the lender that you made on-time payments, all right? The government was telling folks that your credit would not be affected if you took this program, which is true. They didn't report you late, but what they didn't state that they will put language on your credit report that would state that you were in some sort of forbearance or modification agreement because of natural disasters or COVID-19 relief, right? Once a lender saw that on your credit report, that automatically declines you to do a refinance or to purchase a home. So when they came out on May 19th, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Now, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are the agencies, the government agencies that buy all the loans, the mortgage notes from the banks, all right? And the FHA, the Federal Housing Finance Agency, FHFA, tongue twister, right? They govern, you know, the mortgage market. They basically came out and said Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac will not allow borrowers who went into COVID-19 relief or forbearance, they will now allow them to refinance or buy a new home. Now, some of you may be asking yourself, if I went into forbearance, why am I paying my mortgage? Well, here's another thing that you guys didn't hear on the news. if people just call to inquire about a forbearance, a lot of lenders will automatically put them in a forbearance agreement, even though they did not agree to it. All right. Crazy. I know it sounds crazy, but this happens all the time. So there's been so many borrowers that's come to me that said, Matt, I want to refinance. I want to take advantage of these low interest rates. And once I saw that language, sorry, I can't do nothing for you. But now the government came out with this and said, you guys who've been making your payments, although you were in this forbearance agreement, you will not be penalized. You can refinance right away, which is a home run for those homeowners, right? Now, the homeowners who did take the COVID relief and who did not make any payments, those were the set of consumers. And if you guys saw me in a Breakfast Club back in April, I said those are the consumers I'm really concerned about because they are the ones who are going to hurt themselves or penalize themselves because they had to wait that 12 months of payments. Well, the government came out with the clarity also and basically said those who did take the forbearance agreement would not be penalized as long as they reinstated their mortgage and got into a payment plan and they made 3 consecutive months of mortgage payments on time. Now they would be eligible to refinance or purchase a home. So this is a home run for all those homeowners who were definitely impacted by COVID-19, who had to take this relief because they got furloughed or laid off, got sick, or whatever the case may be. Now you're not going to be penalized if you want to purchase real estate or refinance your current property. You just got to make 3 payments on time after you reinstate your mortgage. So reinstating your mortgage, how you do it is basically call your lender if you are ready to start making payments. Tell them, hey, I want to work out that back end. Maybe you missed a month, maybe you missed 2 months, whatever it is. Try to work out some sort of agreement. Preferably, I would want you guys to try to get it put on the back end of your mortgage. So that way your mortgage payment doesn't increase. And once you start making monthly minimum payments, then you could be eligible for a refinance. Now, I must say this also. This is only for loans that are owned by Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, okay? I'm sure FHA and VA will follow the same guidelines, but right now, as of May 31st, this is only for Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, all right? So if your loan is not owned by Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac, then you're subject to whatever that back-end investor that owns the mortgage note will allow, all right? Now, to find out who owns your loan, simple. Call your servicing lender, whoever you're making the mortgage payments to, give them a call and ask them, is my loan eligible for this new law that the government came out with? Or is my loan owned by Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac? And they'll be able to tell you what your options would be. Especially if it's not owned, you need to find out what your options would be, all right? Now, with COVID-19, everything that's been happening, there's been a lot of liquidity issues in the market, right? In the mortgage market, meaning that banks don't have enough money to cover all the people who are missing mortgage payments. So the government, with all these stimulus packages, basically they have to fund the mortgage market. And they're doing it a number of ways, right? Number one, the servicing lenders, they give them money to cover the mortgage payments so that way they can pay their back-end investors. And number two, they buy mortgage bonds or mortgage-backed securities, which tends to lower interest rates. And then they also started lowering the Fed funds rates. I believe the Fed funds rates is 0 right now, right? So all these things happening at one time, this has opened up so many opportunities for folks to refinance because this has dropped interest rates to an all-time low. So this is the gift that came with this pandemic, is that interest rates are so cheap, money is so cheap. Now is the time to take action if you are a homeowner, all right? So interest rates are at an all-time low for conventional FHA loans, VA loans, USDA loans. I mean, they're phenomenal. 30-year fixed right now, as of May 31st, 2020, is ranging in between 2.875 and 3.25, depending on the lender, for primary residence, right? Now, why I have this range is because if you have a multifamily interest rate is different from a single family or condo interest rate. So I'm giving you this range, right? 15-year fixed is 2.25% to 2.875%, depending on the lender. And this is, again, for your primary residence. 30-year fixed mortgages, all right, for investment properties, which is huge, 3.875 to 4.25. So if you purchased a home, and again, this is for conventional mortgages, right? This is not asset-based. This is not hard money. This topic is strictly about conventional FHA loans. But if you purchased a home using a conventional mortgage, right, and your rate is above 4.5 to 5% range, you should definitely look into refinancing that investment property because it's going to give you more cash flow with these low rates. All right. Cash out refinances. A lot of lenders suspended cash out refinances across the board, whether it was for primary residences, whether it was for investment properties. All right. But there are a lot of lenders, including myself, that still will allow cash out refinances for these properties. So cash out refinance and home equity line of credits for a primary residence, we can borrow up to 80% of the loan to value. Loan to value is your loan amount divided by the value of your home. So an easy way to figure out what your LTV is, guys. Your loan amount is 80,000. Divide that by 100K. That gives you 80%. All right. Cash. So divide your loan amount divided by the value of the home. That's how you figure out your LTV. Cash out refinance for investment properties. We can go up to 70% LTV. Again, same formula. You can do either your loan amount divided by the value, or you can do the value times 70%, and that will tell you exactly how much cash you can take out minus the payoff of your current mortgage. So again, guys, the refinance opportunities are hot. As America starts to reopen, I'm telling you guys, the market is low. It's going to continue to be low, but I think once the summer ends, my personal opinion, maybe around fall sometime, if everything is back open, we got Disney about to open, this is about to open, this state is reopening. By fourth quarter and definitely first quarter, we can start seeing a little bit of an uptick as the economy starts to rebuild and people start going back to work. So take advantage of these rates while they're here, because what's here today is gone tomorrow. No interest rate is promised. No one has a crystal ball, not even myself, right? I'm giving you my opinion. But my thing to you guys is strike while the iron is hot, all right? Now let's get into the fun stuff. FHA is one of my favorite programs out there. If you see me on any seminars, if you see me on YouTube or Instagram, I'm always talking about FHA because it's one of those programs that is designed for the first-time home buyer in mind, all right? And it allows you to put down as little as 3.5% of the sales price for a 1 to 4 family property. You can buy FHA-approved condos with an FHA loan, and you can also use an FHA loan to purchase mixed-use properties. So for those who don't know what a mixed-use property is, very common here in New York and New Jersey. You have a storefront and you have apartments on the top. As long as you're under 4 total units, you can use FHA to purchase a mixed-use property. So this is a home run, right? Because a mixed-use property is a commercial loan. And with commercial loans, you need a minimum of 25% down. So FHA is giving that first-time home buyer or that person that wants to use an FHA loan and they want to live in the property as their primary residence, the opportunity to purchase a commercial property with only 3.5% down. That's a home run, right? Now, commercial properties rent is going to be higher than residential. So you folks out there who want to get into real estate investing and want to build a portfolio, consider looking into mixed-use properties because there's typically not a lot of competition like the regular buyers. They're looking for regular homes, single families, or regular multifamilies. So if your market has mixed-use properties and you're comfortable with living in one unit for at least 1 year, then I would highly recommend going into a mixed-use property. Now, one of the things with FHA that happened with this pandemic, excuse me, is that the minimum credit score has been raised by a majority of the lenders out there, all right? Now, as of today, 640 is average about every lender. But I can tell you guys, as of this week, some of my investors are now going back to 620. And I believe come July 4th or after July 4th, we're probably going to be back down to 580. So this is a home run And this is a great sign to show that there's liquidity coming in the market. Investors' confidence are rebuilding with the mortgage market. So now there's going to be folks in the back end on Wall Street buying this type of paper again, which is a great thing for us, because now someone who has a lower FICO score will be able to get financing. But as of today, I would say 640 is a safe number, but we should go back down to 580 by sometime midsummer. I would say probably in the next week, I'm going to be on Instagram and YouTube telling people I'm back down to 620, right? Now, FHA allows you to get rehab money with an FHA 203K, and I'm going to go into that in the next couple slides. Here's one of the big reasons why I love FHA loans, okay? FHA allows you to purchase multifamily properties, use 3.5%, and also use 75% of the gross rental income to help you qualify for the loan, right? Conventional loans, if you're a first-time home buyer, does not allow you to use rental income anymore. They changed that guideline in 2019, right? FHA is one of the only programs out there that will allow you to use that rental income. So let me give you a quick example, right? So if you are buying a property, and let's just say the rental income is $1,000 a month, we use 75% of that $1,000. So we can use $750 a month towards the income, towards your income, and to help you qualify, right? Now, if you're buying a 3-unit, that's $2,100 that we can use as income. That's, over $20,000 a year income that we're helping you qualify with, right? Home run for the first-time home buyer who's looking to build a real estate portfolio. All right. Now, a lot of lenders out there are requiring reserves. Reserves is a huge thing in the mortgage business right now. And quite frankly, to be honest with you guys, you don't want to be house rich and cash poor anyway. All right. So you want to make sure you're not spending all your money to purchase a home and then you're flat broke once you close, right? Because that's a recipe for disaster, AKA foreclosure. You know what I'm saying? So you want to have reserves, but a lot of lenders, even on 1- and 2-family properties, they're requiring you to have at least 3 months reserves. FHA guidelines does not require that, but lenders have put in overlays. Overlays are just extra guidelines to protect that particular lender against risk. So with millions of people losing their jobs and getting furloughed, a lot of lenders put in reserve requirements of 3 to 4 months post-closing. So that way they feel comfortable with lending you money. All right. 3 to 4 families would definitely require 3 months of reserves. Now your reserves, how you figure it out, is your mortgage payment times 3. So if your mortgage payment is $1,000 a month, then you need to show $3,000 in your checking account or your retirement account after you close on the home. All right. So that's how you figure out how much reserves is. Your mortgage payment times 3, and that is your reserves you need. Now, grants are allowed, and I'm going to go into that section in a second. Gifts are allowed, so you can get a gift from a family member. Now, let me speak about the gifts a little bit, right? With gifts, you don't want to take mattress money and give it to your parents and then have them deposit it and give the money back to you, right? That is no good. So whoever you're getting a gift from, mom, dad, auntie, uncle, brother, sister, whoever it is, you have to make sure whatever money that they're gifting you, that they have that money seasoned in their bank account for at least 30 days, because the lender is going to require a bank statement to show that they had the money, because lenders are checking for the foolishness, right? Lenders are not stupid. We know people have mattress money. We know people do side jobs and they don't put money in the bank. But that money cannot be documented. So folks, just remember, if you're going to use a gift, make sure you gift it the proper way, all right? And also, 401k can be used to purchase the real estate as well. And right now with the pandemic, there's so many new laws in place. And one of them is that you can borrow from your 401k without penalty right now. So check with your financial advisor or whoever's managing your retirement account to see what the rules and regulations are. Also, you can use co-signers, right? Or co-borrowers. There's no limit to this. So I've done deals personally where there was 6 people on a loan, 7 people on a loan. All right. So there's no limit to that. So if you can't qualify on your own, get your brother, get your mother, get somebody. By any means necessary, get that deal done. All right. Now, let's get into my favorite. FHA 203K. This is my favorite loan in the world, right? I love this loan, right? Right now, 660 credit score is the minimum. But like I said earlier, I believe this is going to start going back down. Prior to COVID, 600 was the minimum, pretty much standard across the board. All right. Minimum 3.5% down payment is allowed. Max seller's concession is 6% of the sales price. All right. Now, a seller's concession is when the seller agrees to pay a portion of your closing costs. Now, closing costs are typically around 5% of the loan amount. So 100K sales price, $5,000 closing costs. All right, plus your 3.5%. So that's $8,500 that you would need for the total transaction. All right, but again, OPM, seller's concession is other people's money, but you're financing it. The seller is agreeing to use the equity in their home so that way you can finance the closing costs. That way you're not spending no money out of your pocket. Again, the 203K, same like the regular standard FHA. 1 to 4 families, FHA approved condos, and mixed-use properties. Max loan amount is best based on the FHA county loan limit. So the best thing to do if you want to know what your county loan limit is, Google this, FHA, whatever your county is, loan limit 2020. And you'll see tons of information so that way you know exactly what your loan limit is. And again, FHA loans are for your primary residence only. They're not specified just to first-time home buyers, but they're for your primary residence only, and it requires a 1-year occupancy, people. Let me say this again, 1-year occupancy, all right? Do your 1-year bid, man. All right, so there's 2 types of FHA 203K loans. You have a standard 203K, and you have a limited, all right? So the standard 203K allows the borrower to make substantial renovations with a minimum of $5K. All right, so I'm in New York, so I'm gonna just use New York for example. FHA for a 1-family, well, 2-family, let's use a multifamily, right? A 2-family home in New York, the FHA loan limit is about $980,000, right? So if you buy a home for $700,000, correct? But it needs $200,000 worth of repairs, FHA will allow that as long as you qualify for that loan. Right? As long as you have a pre-approved amount up to $900K. All right. So the only limit on how much repair money you can get is the FHA loan limit for your county. So that's why it's very important if you're going to do a 203K to know what's the maximum amount of money that FHA will lend in that county. All right. The FHA limited now allows a borrower to make minor repairs not to exceed $35,000 and $50,000 if you're buying in the opportunity zone. So if you don't know what an opportunity zone, this was put in place a couple years ago by the Trump administration, where certain areas were designated as an opportunity zone where investors who had capital gains were able to reinvest into these designated areas, either in real estate and businesses, and to avoid taxes for 10 years, right? Now, this is a home run, right? So let's use some cities, for example. You have areas like Philly, you have DMV. I mean, hell, you have half of New Jersey and half of New York. You know, there's thousands of opportunity zones across the country. So if you're buying a property in the opportunity zone, right, you can go with the limited version of the 203K and get up to $50,000 for repairs versus $35,000. So they give you a little bit of extra money because you're buying in this designated opportunity zone. So if you want to know if the property you're looking at is in the opportunity zone, you can, 1, ask your realtor, or 2, just go to Google. Google is your best friend, right? Just look it up. Property address, you can put the property address in and just say keywords, opportunity zone. And they'll let you know if the census tract that the property sits in is in an opportunity zone, all right? All rehab must be completed within 6 months, all right? No exceptions, no exceptions. All rehab must be completed in 6 months. And you can finance up to 6 months of your mortgage payments if the home is not livable during construction. Home run, right? No one wants to take on a full gut rehab, especially if you're going to live in a property and you got to worry about mortgage payments on top of construction. It's a nightmare, right? But with the standard 203K, right, you can do this as long as the contractor and the HUD consultant puts on their reports that the home is not livable during construction. Now, a HUD consultant, one of the main reasons why I love the FHA 203K program, right? Let me stop my screen for this, right? Because I want y'all to see my face. The FHA 203K program is training wheels for the first-time investor. And this HUD consultant gives you the opportunity to have a project manager in place that's here to protect you and the lender, right? Fernando, Lord of the Slums, says all the time, contractors are C-O-N, tractors, right? So the government, the FHA, put a HUD consultant in place so that way, if you're doing a large rehab and you have no construction experience, you have this HUD consultant that's right there with you step by step, that's going to be able to help and guide you and to make sure that the contractor is doing everything that they need to do to get this job done on time. And that way, your money is not being wasted. So most contractors who know about 203Ks know, and especially if they're doing a big job over 35,000, know you have to have a consultant, a HUD consultant. That HUD consultant is their money. So if they come out, let's just say you're doing in phases, right? Your first phase, you're doing a kitchen. If that kitchen does not meet standard, the HUD consultant is not going to release no money to pay the contractor. So the contractor is going to do everything in their power, right, to make sure that's done right. So that way they can get paid and keep moving on to the job. So that's why I love 203Ks, is because you have a built-in training wheels for you not to really make mistakes, all right? Home run for the first-time home buyer using a 203K. Now, contractors, I should have put like contractors and highlighted C-O-N, right? They're the biggest problem when it comes to, I just think in anything with real estate investing, right? I'm sure all of you guys heard horror stories and things of that nature. You know, if you've been to any of the From Start to Flip seminars, Caesar, Envy, and Lord of the Slums talk about this in detail. You know, most contractors, and let me keep it 100 with you guys, right? Most contractors don't like to do FHA 203K loans is because of the requirements. They know they're going to have checks and balances in place, right? So most of them don't want to do it. If you're doing a big job, let's just say you're doing a rehab for 100K, contractors need to have money to start that job, right? So let's break this down. Contractors have to be licensed for a minimum of 3 years, but if the state doesn't require that license, then they must have experience for 3 years, right? Most contractors, if they're in a state that requires license, a lot of them don't have licensing, right? So they may be great with their hands and do good work, but if you're not licensed, you can't use that person. Now, self-help arrangements are okay, but a lot of lenders scrutinize this. If you are a general contractor and you have the licensing or you have the experience and you could document your work, then some lenders will be okay with you doing your own work, but every lender is different. So depending on the lender, they may allow it, they may not allow it, but FHA guidelines allow it. But again, lenders have overlays to protect their own risk. 203K streamlines. The contractor gets paid 50% of the rehab money within 10 days of closing. And this is why, and remember, the streamline or the limited, right? Streamline or limited, kind of the same thing in my world, right? They, contractors love to be under that 35K because they know they're going to get a bulk of that money at closing to start the jobs, right? So if you do find a contractor, they'll ask you, are you doing a streamline or are you doing a limited 203K? Because they know once you get over that 35,000 in repairs, or if you're in an opportunity zone over 50,000 in repairs, they know that number one, they have to be liquid to start the job. And number two, they know they're going to have a HUD consultant on their neck. So they will prefer to do the streamline unlimited, because with a streamline unlimited, HUD doesn't require you to have a HUD consultant. The only time they will require you, I should say, to have a HUD consultant is if you're doing structural work, right? So or foundation work, or, health and safety, they want to have, that checks and balances there. But typically, if you're just getting the 203K streamline unlimited just to do your kitchen or a bathroom or some floors or some siding or something that's relatively minor, then you don't need a HUD consultant, all right? Now, the 203K standard, those are for the bigger jobs, over 35,000 or over 50,000 if it's an opportunity zone. That's when you need that 203K consultant. And the contractors only get paid 10% of the total rehab costs within 10 days of closing. So if your job is 100K, the contractor's only going to get $10,000 within 10 days after closing to start this job. So this is why a lot of contractors don't like 203Ks, because they don't want to come up with that money to start your job and wait for the reimbursement or the draw to get paid. They want a lot of the money up front because they don't want to use their money, right? The contractors who understand 203Ks and work with 203Ks, they probably will charge you a little bit more than the everyday contractor, because they understand that they have to lay up money. So they're basically taxing you, right? So make sure you compare licensed contractors who do 203K rehabs, because some of these guys are absolutely freaking ridiculous. They're just going to try to bang you out, all right? And they're going to put too much of a tax on you for doing a 203K. So you just got to make sure you get multiple quotes if you're going to do a 203K loan. So again, 203K is one of my favorite loans. And let me break this a little bit more down for you, right? For a 203K and why I like it, right? So one of the strategies that we talk about is the BRRRR strategy: buy, renovate, refinance, and repeat, or what I like to call the 4-3-2-1 strategy. So if you're a first-time home buyer, what you should definitely do, and if your goals, and if you're on this webinar right now, and if you're watching this video, then you have a goal of building a real estate portfolio, right? So if you're in the market, and I'm gonna keep this to the tri-state because New York has a lot of, and Jersey has 4 families. A lot of markets across the country do not have 4 families or quads or triplexes. We call them 3 families here, but I'm trying to speak everybody's language, right? So this applies to any multifamily. So take it how you want to take it, right? So I'm gonna start off with the 4 family. So you use an FHA mortgage, all right? You buy a 4 family. You think like the investor now. So when you out there looking, ask yourself, what would Caesar and Envy do, right? They're going to try to get the 4 family property. They're going to get it undervalued, and they're going to want to rehab it. So that's when you use your FHA 203K to buy that undervalued property at an auction site, a foreclosure, a desperate seller, an estate sale, whatever the case may be. You buy it undervalued with the intention of doing your rehab. You rehab the property, you live in it for 12 months. Now, the purpose of you buying it undervalued, so that way when you refinance, you have equity in the home, so that way you're able to pull some sort of cash out, and then also go into a conventional mortgage, because FHA, you can only have one FHA loan at a time, unless you buy a new property that's 100 miles away from the original property and you're relocated and you can prove that you have a job in another state, excuse me, and you're really relocated, then you can get another FHA loan. But let's just keep it if you're staying in your area, right? So you refinance out of the FHA loan, you pull some of that equity out. Now you're in the conventional mortgage. You met your 1-year occupancy requirement, and now you go to the 3 family and you repeat the cycle. Now you go another undervalued 3 family, you buy it, you renovate it, you live in it for a year, you refinance it, pull more cash out, right? And then now you're in a conventional loan. Now you free up the FHA again. and now you go to the 2-family. So think about this, right? If you guys sacrifice, especially if you're first-time home buyer, you don't have kids, you're not married, maybe you even have a young child, right? And school districts are not really that important to you. You go through the 4-3-2-1 strategy. In 3 years, you'll have 9 doors that are cash flowing. Okay. Now, when it's time to buy the 1-family, that cash flow from those properties are now paying for your 1-family. So instead of, one of the biggest things that I see with first-time home buyers, and I think the biggest mistake that folks make is that when they want to buy real estate, everybody thinks, the American dream. I personally think the American dream is flawed, first of all, because the American dream is, big house in the suburbs, picket fence, all that shit, right? But if you're buying it off of your income today, you may not be able to afford that dream home that you really want today. So if you use the multifamily strategy, the 4-3-2-1 strategy, right? Instead of buying a home that you can afford today, you use this strategy so that way in year 4, you can buy the home that you truly want, and now your tenants is paying for your dream home. Now your assets are paying for your liability because your primary residence is not, technically speaking, it's not an investment because it's not paying you, right? But we all know that home ownership is what we need in our communities. But you want to make sure that your tenants can pay for that as well. So if you use the 4-3-2-1 strategy with buying undervalued property, with using the FHA 203K, you'll be able to have 9 doors in 3 years. And now your 1-family will be your true dream home, and you have cash flow that can pay for that. So now you're living in that home for free. Now, another way, if you don't want to rehab a property, right? And let's just say, you say to me, Matt, I'm not into rehab. I don't want to do that. I just want to buy a house and move in it. You can still do the same 4-3-2-1 strategy, right? But now you have to buy turnkey properties. Turnkey properties are huge, right? Because now you're getting a home that's already renovated, it's already rented, and you already have money coming in to you. So with a turnkey property, you have to think about this like this. You have tenants in a property that have security deposits. So at closing, you're going to get that security deposit back. When you close on a loan, you don't have a mortgage payment for 2 months. So not only did you get your security deposit back, right? You have 2 months with no mortgage payments, and those tenants are still paying you. So that's extra money back to you. So whatever you put up for down payment and closing costs, you're going to get a large portion of that money back within 60 days after you close. This is a home run for first-time home buyers, right? And that's another OPM strategy because now you're using that money. You're putting up your money at first, but you're getting majority of it back, and you're coming out of pocket with less money. And that's what you want to do, and that's how you really buy homes. Now, conventional financing for investors, conventional loans like Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac allow you to buy investment properties as long as you have a minimum 620 credit score, a minimum down of 15 to 25%. Now, the 15% is for 1-family properties, and the 25% is for investment properties. They allow you to have a minimum of 3% seller's concession. You can do condos, and like I said, 1 to 4 family approved 1 to 4 family properties and Fannie Mae approved condos. The max loan amounts are based on the Fannie Mae loan limit. So just like FHA, you can Google Fannie Mae loan limits 2020 for your county. Rehab money with the Fannie Mae home style is also available, and that's only for 1-family investment properties. But let's call a spade a spade. If you're buying a 1-family home as an investment property, in all honesty, I would probably recommend using hard money because you can get the deal done a lot faster than going through a Fannie Mae home style program, which will probably take you 45 days to close in this current market. So I would probably recommend hard money because you can get closed a lot faster. All right. So let's talk about grants. OPM, one of my favorite things. So we already spoke about a few things and a few ways for you guys to use OPM, right? Seller's concessions is a way you're using other people's money to purchase the real estate. Grants are a huge thing, and people are always asking me, and especially this week, right? We was on the Breakfast Club, the whole team, And Envy has been talking a lot on the Breakfast Club this past week about home buying grants. A lot of people are in his DMs and reaching out to him like, how do we find these home buying grants across the country, right? We're here in New York and New Jersey, and people follow us from all over the country, and they have no clue how to find this. So here's an easy way for you guys to find grants that are available in your city. You go to this website, HUD.gov/buying/local, right? So let's go to the website so that way you guys can take a look of how it looks, right? So you go to this website, okay? You go to this website and this is how it looks. Now this is the government website. This is not like one of these clickbait type of websites where you go on, you get all this freaking advertisement and they want you to fill out all these forms and blah, 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 right? This is the government's website. So you use that link, you go here, and this is the page that you're gonna come to. And it's gonna show you all the local home buying programs across the United States of America. So I don't care where you are, right? So I'm gonna randomly pick somewhere. Let's go to Kentucky. So whoever's in Kentucky, this is what you gotta do. You come here, home ownership in Kentucky, and you see right here what says buying a home, right? So you have assistant programs. You have HUD homes for sale. You even have home ownership vouchers, right? So if you're someone who's on Section 8 or you got some sort of voucher program, you can also use the FHA loan too and use that voucher. There's so many damn programs out there that people just have no clue of where to go. Now, I want to say this. All of these programs are income restricted. They all have different guidelines. It's not one size fit all with these programs. So you must, I repeat, you must get in contact with the folks who are running these programs to find out what their requirements are, all right? But only thing you gotta do is this, right? Assistant in programs, you go here and check this out, guys. You have all the counties, right? You have HUD home program. You have all the contacts. You have all this information, Habitat Humanity, Federal Home Loan Bank of Cincinnati. You have so many different things up here. And that's just for Kentucky, right? Let's pick somewhere else. Let's pick Alaska. Let's see what y'all got going on in Alaska real quick, right? HUD homes for sale, vouchers, assistance and programs. Bet, look at this, right? Statewide programs. Let's click on that. Now you go into their official websites. I'm not gonna go to the websites, I just wanna show you guys. You got all the information right here, and if you keep scrolling down, it's showing you all the resources of who to call, who to contact, for what city, what state. Look at all this information. This is Alaska, guys. You know what I'm saying? So like, look, you have all this information, all this opportunity. Let's go to Maine, right? Shout out to everybody in Maine and Alaska too, right? So you have all of this, right? Boom. Augusta, programs by city and town. Boom. You have all the programs right then and there for you guys, right? Let's take it to the home base. Now I got to come home with it. Let's go to New York. Shout out to all my New Yorkers on the webinar too, by the way. Assistance and programs. Look at this. Look at all of these resources. Programs by city and town. 5 boroughs, Long Island, Westchester, Rockland, Orange, upstate New York. But look at this, guys. Look at all the resources that they're laying out for you. The websites, the phone numbers. You know, they ain't got no emails. They're not stupid because they'll probably get 1,000,001 emails. But look at all of these. Look at this. This is all free money, right? All this is free money, guys, and it's very simple, easy to get. Let's take it to Jersey. Let's go to Jersey real quick. Let's take a look at this, right? Look at this, Jersey, assistance and programs, HUD homes for sales, all of this good stuff that's up here. Look at this, statewide and regional programs, right? So you have, and then they're breaking it down by city and town. Jersey, look at all of these cities and towns that have programs. Right? And you have all the information, the phone numbers, the addresses, the name of the people who are running these programs. You have all this information right here, guys, at a click of a button for you, right? The only thing you got to do is just go to these websites. This is nationwide. This has nothing to do with me. I am not running this. No lender is running this. This is all by the government, right? They're giving people free money. We have to take advantage of this free money. This is OPM, guys, other people's money. Now, like I said, most of these programs have restrictions. Most of them have income restrictions, I should say. Most of them require family sizes, like different income requires different family sizes. So if you're a family of 3, they'll probably give you more latitude with your income versus a single person, right? There's so many different things. A lot of these grants, they are fully forgiven after a certain period of time. So your grant, most of them are 5 to 10 years. So you won't have no payments on them if you stay in the home for 5 years, if you stay in the home for 10 years. If you try to sell or do a cash out refinance within that time frame, then they're going to require you to pay a portion of that money back. But again, that's why it's important. You need to contact these folks and get all of the information, because some of these programs, you can get approved for them in 30 days to 60 days. Some of them may take 6 months, especially during COVID-19, where a lot of these programs, they're closed right now because the government is closed down in a lot of states. But as the states start reopening, these programs are going to start coming back to light. Now, also, a lot of these programs run out of money because there's so many applicants. So you have to apply. You cannot waste time. Do not hesitate on this. Go call these people, use the website that I just gave you guys, right? And I'm gonna bring it back up again so that way you can see it. And I want you guys to really use this website to your advantage. Save it as one of your favorites. Call all of these people who are administrating these programs. Find out what their requirements are, guys. This is free money for you, okay? And this is nationwide. And then also, some lenders will have their own versions of down payment assistance that you're able to get qualified also. And you can stack these grants, right? And in most cases, you can have 2 or 3 grants coupled on top of each other, right? That's a fucking home run, right? OPM. So in these cases, if you're getting seller's concessions, you're getting 2 or 3 grants, you can come out of pocket with no money. And if you buying a multifamily, especially if it's turnkey, you're using all this grant money to pay for your down payment, your closing costs. Now you're getting security deposits back. You're getting rental income. You just got a free house, right? What is better than that? So I get sick and tired of people saying, I don't have no money. I don't have no money. But they're like, yo, did you look at the grants? And they just like, oh, I don't know this. I don't know this. This is Google, man. Just Google this stuff. And I'm so happy Envy has been talking about grants on the Breakfast Club. So shout out to Envy for using his platform to show our people that there are opportunities for us to buy money. There's no freaking excuse, all right? Use this information and apply it ASAP. Now, before I wrap up, because I know I'm rambling, I get into rants sometimes, my bad, but it is what it is, right? These are the documents that you need to get pre-approved. I highly recommend you guys create a Google Drive or a Dropbox and start uploading these documents into there so that way you're organized, right? You need last 2 years of W-2s, you need a 2-year work history. So now with the 2-year work history, this is very important. If you are furloughed right now and you go back to work, if you were furloughed or laid off for 3 months or 4 months, whatever it is, you will not get penalized. So don't worry. Simple letter of explanation. I was furloughed because of COVID-19. Boom. Lender doesn't care. They're not going to penalize you. If you go from W-2 to self-employed and you don't have a 2-year history of filing on your taxes, that self-employed income, you start the clock over. So you're going to have to be self-employed, documented on tax returns for 2 years, all right? Last 30 days of pay stubs. We are now requiring pay stubs up until the day we're closing, right? We're doing verification of employment up until the date of closing, I should say. I've had closings get killed the day of because folks lost their job and didn't tell nobody, and they thought they could just like, oh, I'm gonna still close. It doesn't work like that. Lenders are doing their due diligence now more than ever because people are losing their jobs at a high rate because of this pandemic. So if you lost your job and you're in the process, just tell your lender right away. So that way you can figure out some sort of solution with the seller and maybe not lose the deal. Hopefully you just got furloughed and you got another start date maybe later this summer and maybe they're willing to wait for you. But the sooner you attack this, the better for you, right? Last 2 months of bank statements. Like I said, bank statements are very important. We're not just looking at the money you have in your account. We're looking at your transactions. So don't be putting that mattress money in there. Don't be putting that Susu money in there and using that money to go in the contract and putting down on your deposit. The lender won't use that money. Mattress money, money that is not sourced and seasoned in your bank account for 2 months, a lender will not use unless we can source it, all right? Mattress money is not able to be sourced. Cash is not able to be sourced. So if you have mattress money, if you're doing odd-end jobs, if you out there hustling, if you out there bartending, stripping, whatever the fuck it is you do, make sure you keep that money in your account and have it sourced and seasoned. My advice to you guys, have a separate account that you're going to call it, nickname it the real estate fund, right? And make sure you use that money only for real estate transactions. Keep your money in that account, let it sit for a couple months, and then apply for a loan. That's the best advice I can give you guys. We need a copy of your ID, the gift letter. I went into that a little bit earlier, right? Gift money is very important, all right? Very, very, very important. Got to document all of that. And also you need a loan application. You need to complete your loan application, all right? So I'm going to end this right now. Again, here's my contact info. Again, my name is Matt Garland. I'm the division manager of United Northern Mortgage Bankers here in New York. I'm able to help you guys nationwide. If you need help, my NMLS number is 58700. Text me. Start to flip. Text start to flip. Exactly how you see it written there. Start the number 2 and flip to 516-217-2291. Again, text start to flip to 516-217-2291. If you're interested in getting pre-approved, or if you have any questions, use me as a resource. My brain is your brain, all right? And make sure you guys follow me on Instagram. Make sure you follow me on YouTube, MG the Mortgage Guy. I go on live all the time. My live sessions are always Q&A. It's like a home buying seminar every single time I get on live. All right. So listen, that's my time. That's all I have for you guys. I appreciate you taking the opportunity to listen to me rant, right, about something I'm very passionate about and I love, which is real estate financing. But again, I want to give a big, big shout out to the whole From Start to Flip team, and a big shout out to DJ Envy and Caesar for using their platform to help our people, understand the importance of generational wealth through real estate. All right. Again, my name is Matt Garland, NMLS number 58700, but I'm better known as MG the Mortgage Guy. I'll see y'all later. Peace.
All right, now shout out to Matt the Mortgage Guy. Hopefully you got all the information you needed about mortgages, all right? Now, a lot of people always ask about wholesaling. What is wholesaling? Now, Caesar and I don't do wholesaling, all right? Wholesaling is a part of the business where credit doesn't matter, neither does having a lot of money or any money at all. He breaks down how you can make money in real estate without having any money of yourself and without having a good credit score. He is going to break that down. Caesar and I, we don't do that. We either do flips or we do rentals. But there's a part of the business where a lot of people out there make money off of wholesaling. And today we're going to be talking with Carlos Reyes.
Caesar Envy, thank you so much for having me on today. Thank you for allowing me to serve the community today. Hey, listen, when I got started in real estate investing less than 5 years ago, I was dead broke. I had a 9-to-5 job. I was just trying to survive. I wasn't thriving in any way. Didn't have a lot of money. And I always thought of real estate investing as like, oh man, you got to have a bunch of money to get going and, flipping houses. But the fact of the matter is, absolutely not. So today I am here to teach you exactly how to get started flipping houses with little to no money out of your pocket. You just have to be extremely resourceful and you have to be willing to put in the work, okay? This concept, by the way, the concept of landing off-market discounted properties, finding off-market discounted properties, putting them under contract, and then assigning that contract, the rights to that property to a fix and flipper like Cesar and DJ Envy, well, that concept is called wholesaling, and that is exactly what you are here to learn today. So let's get started. All right, guys. So All In Nation, allinnation.com. That is right. That is our organization. We do flip properties under the name of Offer Key and National Cash Offer. All right, so my name is Carlos Reyes. I am a Mexican that came to this country illegally twice. I was born into extreme poverty in Mexico. The little town is called Guaymas, Sonora. And you're talking dirt roads and dirt floors. Just to give you a quick rundown of my financial situation as a child, I used to literally have to take showers out of a bucket. That's right. My grandmother would warm up the water, and then in a bucket, I had another little, like a little scooper bucket that I would take showers out of. And in the back, we had a washing board, and we had wires where we would hang our clothes on. And we also had a back house where we would actually use that back house to go to the restroom. So you're talking extreme poverty here. I don't know why Mexico is still not considered a third world country. It was absolutely insane. But you know what? I never allowed that to bother me. I always knew that there was bigger and greater things that God had in store for not only myself, but my family, and our future. So raised by a single mother. My single mom to this day still doesn't speak English. My single mom worked the fields in California first, and she received her immigration paperwork through Amnesty in the late 80s. She then brought me and my brother, or my brother and myself, over to California, and she brought us over illegally. We failed. We only lasted about 2 to 3 years. Very expensive for a single mom to raise two men. Went back to Mexico. I started bagging groceries. She started working at the resorts. And we saved up enough money to send her over back to Phoenix, Arizona. And then she worked in the fields again, 120 degree weathers. 120 degree weather was insane. It was literally an inferno. Saved up enough money, brought me and my brother over, and we started creating or building a life here in this beautiful, amazing country. I have no college education at all. Graduated high school, did extremely well in high school, but I always wanted to work. I was always a grinder, and I just chose to work over college. I immediately stepped into a corporate job at the age of 17, and I was hired as a shift manager making $10.25 an hour. I climbed the ranks very, very quickly. I was the company's youngest manager ever at the age of 19. And I was there for quite some time. I was able to actually, because of that corporate job, I am very thankful. I'm very thankful. Unlike many, I didn't hate my corporate job because it provided income. It provided, enough income for me to get my first home, get my first few cars, etc. Move my family into a decent house. And I'm forever thankful because it taught me everything. It was literally my school. It was literally my college, right? I was taught management. I was taught hiring. I was taught scheduling. I was taught how to run a business. I was taught numbers. I mean, everything you can think of. That's why when people talk about trusting the process, that was part of my process. Even though I knew, I'm like, I don't want to do this forever. I was trusting the process because of everything that I was learning and I was growing. So that's a brief summary of, me coming up in the world. And now in 2020, because of the mercy of the Lord, I own 25 plus businesses. I own one of the top 3 real estate wholesaling companies in the entire nation. And we have an amazing team. We have amazing departments and amazing leaders in those departments. That is what has enabled me to grow as a serial entrepreneur. But it all started with my baby. And what's my baby? Real estate. It all started with real estate. I would not have any of these other businesses if it wasn't for real estate. So with that being said, let's get into real estate. I want to teach you how to make $100,000 in 1 year. And I don't know about you, but $100,000 to me at one point was like hitting the lottery. I'm like, if I can make 100 grand, oh my goodness, I've made it, right? Because nobody in my family has ever made 100 grand. So if I can make $100,000, I made it. I can not only help myself, help my family, but even help other people around me, right? So I'm going to teach you how to make $100,000 with no money and no credit. So today we're going to talk about where you are and where you want to be. We're going to talk about where you are and what your ideal outcome is, where you want to end up. Okay? Let me just explain wholesaling real estate as easy, as simple as I possibly can. Okay? So, wholesaling is literally the art of finding off-market, deeply discounted properties. Here we go. You ready? So it's you looking for the property. And how are you going to look for these properties? You're going to look for these properties through marketing. Okay? Marketing, and through that marketing, whether it's free marketing or paid marketing, which we'll review, you're going to find motivated sellers, people that really need your service. They really need to sell their home. And for one reason or another, they can't list the property. Maybe they don't have the funds to renovate or fix the property to bring it to market condition, or they don't have the time to list the property. All right. So you find that motivated seller, you put that motivated seller under contract, and you're acquiring this property deeply discounted because of the need, right? They need to move fast. So you're finding this property deeply discounted, and you're going to sign an agreement with that homeowner. You then open escrow, right? You take that contract and you take it to any title agency for $10, $100, $300, $500. That's called earnest money deposit, EMD. You can open up this transaction with the title agency. Contract, money, let's go. Okay, well, you then look for a cash buyer, somebody like DJ Envy or somebody like Caesar, who wants to actually put the money in and flip. You know, they want to renovate this property. They want to flip this property. That's called a cash buyer. Okay. You find them, you assign the rights to this property. That's right. You have the contract, and I'll give you an example, right? Let's just say this property is worth $200,000 and you get this property for $90,000. And then you're like, Caesar, or Envy, I have this property and I acquired it for $90,000. It's worth $200,000. It only needs $10,000, right, to renovate it and bring it up to market condition. Well, I'm going to sell you this property for $110,000. Well, now you're making the differential, the margin of $20,000 just because you found a motivated seller, got that property deeply discounted, put it under contract, opened up title by depositing earnest money deposit, and assigned it to a cash buyer that's actually going to take this property down. Okay, this cash buyer is going to fund the entire thing. That's right. You don't have to put no money. DJ Envy or Caesar or somebody in that area, wherever it is that you're working out of in that marketplace, they're going to fund the entire deal from literally C to A. And you're the middle person. You make the margin in between, okay? So you find a cash buyer, he closes on the deal, and you get paid. Remember we talked about that $20,000 assignment fee? That was the margin. That's what you're making on this particular deal. How amazing is that, by the way? You're literally flipping paper. You're flipping paper. That's what wholesaling is. So, 4-step simple process. Find the deal through marketing. Evaluate the property, right? Find out how much it needs and what you think it's worth. Get that property on the contract, deeply discounted, and sell that property to a cash buyer. You will make profit in literally 14 to 21 days. The 5-step process to financial freedom. Now, we do have to talk about this, all right? Anybody can be successful. Anyone can. If I can be successful, anyone can be successful, right? I've been through everything, and here I am. I'm thank God, a few years later or a whole lifetime later, I'm successful. I can literally look at you and I and say, I am successful. Thank you, Lord. Thank you for all the work ethic that you naturally gave me, and thank you for putting me through the ringer and all the trials and tribulation. that like literally it helped me, right? The fire built me. So if I can be successful, you can be successful. This is the 5-step process to financial freedom. You have to make a decision on what it is that you want out of life. Do you want to be successful or do you want to be mediocre? Do you want financial freedom or do you want to be struggling every single month when the bills are due, right? Simple as that. You have to make a decision. And then you have to make a commitment. So you make a decision. You know what? I'm gonna be successful. I'm gonna own my own business. I'm gonna change my the financial trajectory of my family. I'm gonna change the way people look at me. I'm gonna create financial freedom. You make a decision. Now you have to make a commitment to that decision, right? You can't don't confuse motivation for commitment. Motivation is extremely temporary, as opposed to commitment. That's a permanent thing. You have to make a commitment. And then guess what? You have to be willing to sacrifice. Well, what do you mean I have to, what do I have to sacrifice, Carlos? You have to sacrifice everything. That's right. Time with your family, hobbies, TV, right? What else can you think of that you do, right? Going to the movies and, going to the clubs or whatever. I don't know what it is that you do with your free time, but you have to sacrifice everything. You have to sacrifice sleep. You have to sacrifice maybe some finances. You have to sacrifice everything. Energy, effort, everything, okay? You have to work your ass off. That's right. This isn't going to come easy. You do have to put a lot of work in. Especially, think about this, right? You don't have a lot of money, you don't have a lot of money, but you have a lot of time and you have a lot of energy. So that's going to be the way that you get there. The last step to this success formula is you never, ever, ever quit. That's right, perseverance. You never quit. Listen, you only fail when you quit. You only fail when you quit. Action steps to becoming a successful wholesaler. Hey, listen, I wish I can literally, grab you by the hand right now and teach you everything there is about wholesaling. But the fact of the matter is we only have, 15 to 20 minutes to go through this presentation, and I want to respect your time. So the next thing you need to do is get informed, right? I need you to seek knowledge, get informed. You can literally do all that. If you go to allinnation.com, you can get the book that I literally just wrote. You can get this book for free. All you gotta do is take care of shipping and handling. And guess what this book's gonna teach you? It's gonna teach you everything. Free marketing, paid marketing. It's gonna give you, All in Nation will give you the purchase contracts, the assignment contracts. Like, it gives you everything. Scripts, right? Cold calling scripts, talking to sellers, those scripts. It gives you everything. Everything you're ever gonna need. It's in allinnation.com. And because you choose to go to allinnation.com, you get our free book, right? All you got to do is, subscribe to our newsletter and community, and you get the free book. All you got to do is take care of shipping and handling. And guess what? You get what's called the best wholesaling book ever. Just wrote this book. It's the #1 new seller on Amazon when it comes to buying and selling homes. And you can either get it on Amazon for $19.97 or go to allinnation.com and get it there for free. You just take care of shipping and handling. Like I said, it gives you everything. Free marketing, paid marketing, how to talk to sellers, dispositioning properties, how to find cash buyers, everything you're ever going to need. Okay. So I can also be located if you really need to ask me any type of questions. I'm here to serve you. I'm here to serve Caesar, and I'm here to serve Envy. I'm very easy to reach at Carlos Reyes on Instagram. I always make it a priority to get back to all my direct messages. I remember I was that person, coming up in the game, trying to seek knowledge, reaching out to everybody, and nobody would give me the time of the day. I made a promise to myself. I took an oath. I said, anybody who reaches out to me, I am going to hit them back. So thank you guys so much for your time today. I really do hope that, through what Envy and Caesar are providing, how they're serving the community, I hope that we can impact lives. I hope that we can penetrate minds and hearts and impact lives and just make this world a much better place. So thank you, and God bless you.
Now, shout out to Carlos Reyes. Hopefully, he broke down wholesaling for you. Now, next up, I'm going to get out this chair. I'm going to sit in that chair. And me and Caesar are going to break down how we did it, how we make money step by step. All right. So check this out. This is the best part of cameras. It's like magic. I'm gonna go like this, and then I'm gonna be sitting next to Caesar. Ready? 1, 2. Now, shout out to everybody for joining us. We appreciate it. This is our first webinar. You just heard from the credit dude. You just heard from Matt, the mortgage guy, and our wholesaler.
Carlos Reyes.
Yeah, shout out to Carlos Reyes. We just wanted to give you how to get into the game. You know, first you got to make sure your credit's good. Then you go to a bank or you find some lending. Some people do wholesaling. If you don't have money and you have bad credit and you want to get into the game. So now you have getting into the property. So we're going to talk a little bit about how we got into the game. So I'm going to start with myself first. So I started in the real estate. For me, I did it kind of wrong. And when I say I did it kind of wrong, I bought a house. This is when I was about 21, and I moved into it. I lived there for about 4 months, and then I found another house, and I sold that house, made $60,000, and I was doing that for a while. I started accumulating homes, and then the big crash happened in 2007 and 2008, and I was stuck with a bunch of houses, and I almost gave up on real estate. I kind of got depressed. I sold those properties, and I said I'll never do real estate again. Then I would say maybe about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I said, I'm going to really try again. And I started in Detroit. I picked up 3 properties in Detroit. Each were $15,000. Now, these properties in Detroit, and if you look at the screen, the Detroit properties are popping up. These properties in Detroit were $15,000. I didn't know what to do with them. I just kept them, cut the grass, paid the taxes, and I said, I'm going to do one at a time. So one of the hard things with getting real estate out of town is finding a contractor. And Caesar would say the same thing. It's difficult. You don't know who to trust. You know, you don't know who's charging you too much, who does good work. So I found somebody in Detroit. Shout out to Angela Yee. She recommended this individual, and they started fixing up the property. I would look on FaceTime, and periodically I would fly down and see exactly what was going on. And when I got there, my master bedroom, I looked and it was bathroom tile on one of the walls. And I asked, I said, well, what is this? And he said, well, that's my style. I'm not paying you for your style. I'm paying you to fix my property. So I stopped fixing the property. I paid him for the work that he did, and I just stopped and I sat and I said, I need to reevaluate how I'm going to do this and what I need to do. At the same time, Dan Gilbert was building up Detroit. He built up downtown, and Detroit was really turning around. That property that I bought, and it was abandoned. All 3 buildings, as you can see, were abandoned. The area was changing. When I went down there to check on the property, you would see people walking their little dogs. They were making dog parks, gentrification. The area has changed. So that property that I bought for $15,000 and $18,000 was now worth $350,000 to $400,000. So at that point, I sold them. I sold those properties, and I made a lot of money. And that was like my real love to get back into the game. Finding properties like that for $15,000, $20,000, holding, paying the taxes, cutting the grass, fixing it up slowly, and waiting for that market to turn in those areas. So now when I got back into Jersey, shout to Knit the Grit. He said, yo, my friend wants to meet you. He does real estate, and he knows and sees what you're doing, and he would love to meet you. And the guy that he wanted to meet was Caesar. Spoke to Caesar on the phone, and Caesar was like, I do real estate in Patterson. I want to show you. So when I first got to Caesar's office, I went with my wife, and I'm from Queens, so I didn't trust Caesar. I was like, I don't know if he's trying to rob me, if he's sticking me up, he's taking me to Patterson, I get robbed. I didn't know. So he was like, nah, get in my car. Let me show you the whole, the properties that I own. So my wife is sitting behind him like, nah, we're not getting in this car. And, we actually wound up getting in this car, and he showed us everything that he had, all the properties, whether they were 3 families, 4 families, 5 families, 6 families, buildings, all these different types of properties. And he was showing me how he was doing it. And I thought it was dope. So I got to all these properties, and there's so many different things that you learn from real estate. So with Caesar, when I went into these properties, I really thought at first, I was like, Caesar ain't got no style. All his properties were the same. The cabinets were the same. The bathrooms were the same. The floors were the same. The colors were the same. And I'm like, what is this? But I didn't think anything about it. So we started talking. So I made my first investment in Patterson, right? I bought a 6-family house in Patterson. That 6-family house was how much? Remember?
Back then we got it for 140 around there, right?
140. It was about 140. Now it needed a lot of work. We put about over 100 grand into that house, fixing it up.
Give or take, yeah.
Yeah, but that was a bunch of floors. Like I said,
Yep.
6 families. So if you don't know what a 6-family is, it's like 6 units. So
Yeah.
6 people live in that house. So 6 people pay you rent. So if you think about it, by the time I paid for that house, or I have a mortgage for the house, of course, I use hard money lending, and Caesar will break down hard money lending in a little bit. But my mortgage was about $3,900 a month for that 6-family. You pay a little more when you hard money. The interest rates are a little high. But now remember, I had 6 tenants. Now the rent ranged from $2,100 to a little over $1,000. So I was bringing in $9,000 of rent. I'm paying $4,000, let's say, in mortgage. So I'm making about $5,000, minus taxes, minus the cutting the grass, and minus all the other fees. I'm bringing home close to $4,000 a month, over $4,000 a month. So that's a home run.
Yep.
That is a home run to that property. So now, for the rest of my life, and my kids' life, and my grandkids' life, they will be collecting that rent of $4,000, and of course, rent will go up. So they will be collecting that rent. That's the house that you showed when we were talking. So that was my first thing. So then I said, damn, I want another house. I want something else. So that's this red house. So now when we purchased this red house, what do we pay for that red house?
120.
The red house was $120,000. Now the thing with the red house, it was a 3-family house, but it was a 3-family, 2 bedrooms. So if you think about it, 3 families, only 2 bedrooms. So when I bought the house, Caesar was like, you're not going to make a lot of money. We have to make more money on that house. So I said, well, how? And he said, we have to expand it.
Yep.
So instead of making it a 3-family, 2 bedroom, we made it a 3-family, 3 bedroom.
Yep.
And then we did studio apartments on the back end. So now that 3-family is a 6-family. So now instead of just getting rent from each floor, now it's 6 tenants that we're getting rent from. So now I couldn't charge as much as the other one because it's a different area and it's a little smaller property. So that property, I currently make about $7,900 a month, my mortgage being about $3,500 a month. So that's $3,500 a month profit that I make every month for those properties. So now think about it. And now why I tell people about real estate, it doesn't matter what I do. It doesn't matter if I say something crazy on the radio. It doesn't matter if I pass away. It doesn't matter what goes on in my life. It doesn't matter because I still get those rents regardless. I'm still going to bust my ass and DJ and do my podcast and own the Top Pop and some of the stuff that we do. I'm still going to do that. But no matter what, I still get that money. And I know a lot of you say, well, what happened during the coronavirus? What happened? Yeah, a lot of people didn't pay. A lot of people didn't pay. But what happened? When people got those stimulus checks and people got their money, they paid for their back rent. And we got all that money back. And people say, well, why do you charge everybody? Because like I just told you, I have to pay my mortgage. If my tenants don't pay, I can't pay my mortgage. I can't pay if there's a problem, if the roof is leaking, if there's a problem with the toilet, if whatever it may be. I have to be able to pay and take care of those costs. So when it comes to it, that's what we have to do. So that is some of the properties that I own. So that's 6 units that I own in Patterson, New Jersey. And that's pretty much what we do and what we look for. And then when people say, why we got into real estate, we got into real estate because we want to make sure we can create generational wealth and have something for our kids. Like I said earlier, with our community, a lot of times we're not taught how to make money. My parents didn't know how to invest. They live in the same house they bought when they were 25, 26 years old. For them, they pass away, they give me that house, and that's generational wealth for them. They never learned how to invest. They didn't learn that in school. So when I see Caesar doing it and I see myself doing it, it's one of those things that says that's what we need to do. We need to teach our community how to do it.
have to eat the dream. You have to sleep the dream. You have to dream the dream. You got to touch. You have to see it when nobody else sees it. You have to feel it when it's not tangible. You have to believe it when you cannot see it. You got to be possessed with the dream. The dream. Dream. The dream.
Now, another property that, my last property and probably my biggest investment to date outside of where I live is the school that we purchased. Now, the school that we purchased is a school in Patterson. We paid $1 million for the school, and we're going to have 60 units.
Yep.
So we're turning into the school into an apartment complex. Now, that school is going to cost about how much?
We'll probably be all in about 4.5, 5 million.
4.5, 5 million. Now, of course, we won't pay that 4 to 5 million out of our pocket. Of
course, yeah.
We'll get lending for that.
Yep.
But to buy the school, we had to come out of our pocket and pay for that.
Yep.
So it's funny, you see all these artists out there and they show stacks of money and they stole cars and their jewelry and all that other stuff. We could have done that, but instead we purchased a school.
Yep.
And with that school, when that school is finished, hopefully, when everything is opening back up, that school will be worth
About 16 million.
about $16 million. So now finishing that school, if it's $4 million to fix, we paid $1 million, that's 5. We're going to be up $11 million. That's what that school will be worth. But rent, we rent out those 60s apartments, we'll be making ballpark.
$1 million something a year.
And that's what we're trying to do. And that's what we're looking forward to as far as renting those apartments. But those are the things that we built up towards. What just wasn't tomorrow. We say, oh, I'm going to buy this million. No, we started small, $140,000 for a place. Fix it up. Get tenants in there. Get rent rolling. Then pick up another place and keep doing that. And it can be done. And this is the perfect time if you have a little bit of money because the prices are not shooting up. People are scared. People are losing money. So if you have money, this is how the rich stay rich. They invest in stocks when they're low and people lose their money. They find real estate when people are fucked up and lose their houses or the house market is going down and foreclosures are going up. This is when people start making money. Now, if you look at the crash that happened in 2007, 2008, the people that survived that were people that were able to get those properties low, hold them, keep them, rent them out, flip them later on.
I'm one of those guys right here.
And he had a bunch. How many properties did you pick up around that time when everybody was running from that?
That's when I dived right in. Everybody was like, oh, don't invest in real estate. It's horrible to invest in real estate right now. Stay away from real estate. And I just jumped in, and that's where I pretty much built my wealth and my fortune from that last crash.
Right. And the last thing I'll show you is my own personal house. And this is when you have to have friends in your corner. And if you're watching this, we consider you an investor. You are a real estate investor if you're watching this. That means no more retail prices. You don't want to buy a house on Realtor.com and pay retail prices. You know why? Because if something happens, if the market falls, or if there's a turn, you have nothing. There's no cushion for yourself. As he says, there's no meat on the bone. You need to make sure that you are absolutely positively comfortable. You have to. So when you look at a property, you have to think about these things, even if you're looking for a property for yourself. So when I was looking for a property for me and my wife and my kids, we were looking to move. I've been in my house for a long time and I just wanted something else, something a little bigger. We were looking and there was a house that I wanted, right? House was beautiful, huge, had a view of the city, New York City, but it was retail. And I wanted this property. And he fought me tooth and nail. He made sure I didn't buy that property. And I thank God I didn't because it wasn't a good price. It wasn't good for me. It wasn't good for me. I found another property that was worth over $10 million. Over $10 million for this property. I paid a lot less. I paid 5.5 for this property. But now think about it. Still a lot of money. But if things go, that house right now is worth no less than $9 million.
Yep.
So if things go bad, I have the equity in the house. I can pull out if I need to. If I need to sell, I will make money on that property. And these are the type of things, and we'll show you here, show a glimpse of it. the type of things that we need to do as people. We need to make sure we push each other. So now, that's my story. That's how I got into real estate, and that's where I'm at right now. So currently I have close to 149 units right now. And hopefully by the end of the year, I'll have 200 units. And I kind of look at it like one house, one piece of property won't change your life. And that's not how you look at real estate. You look at it as if I have one, let's say I have one 3-family house, and that one 3-family house makes you $1,500 a month, let's say. That's not what you're thinking about, if that one house will make you anything. But now that one house, let's say after 2 years, you have 10 houses. Now that $1,500 is now $15,000 a month. And you just keep doing the same thing. You make that house pay for itself, and you make your profit. Now, instead of having 10 houses, you have 20 houses in 3 years. That 20 houses is now making you $30,000 a month, all profit. You take that money and you don't use it to buy watches or cars. You buy more properties. Then when you get to a point where you're comfortable, then you could buy whatever you want. I know you see me online and you say, hey, Envy likes cars, he likes jewelry, his wife likes nice things. You're absolutely right. But no matter what I buy, I try to make sure I buy something to pay for it. You see what I'm saying? So hopefully you guys get the gist of it, and you're thinking the same thing when it comes to these seminars. Now, a lot of you guys have questions and ask even about how the seminars work between what we're doing now and what we do there. Yes, when we do the seminars in the different markets, they're a lot longer. They're more in depth, more in details. And yes, we do Q&A because we're there with you. You can see us, you can touch us, you can take pictures of us. Here, we're trying to break down as much as we can in a limited amount of time. But without further ado, my brother, Caesar, he's the guru, he's the genius when it comes to this real estate-ish. So, ladies and gentlemen, Caesar.
How you guys doing? Thanks to everybody for being here with us today. You know, in these very interesting times, right? At this point.
Yep.
Pretty much, so you guys know a little bit about me. Hopefully, most of you guys follow me on Instagram. I'm doing a Cody right now. Now you can follow me. I've been doing real estate for about 14 years. I don't have a fancy education. I'm not a licensed real estate broker in any state. I'm pretty much more street educated than anything else. When all of my friends went to college, I chose the streets. I do have a high school diploma. That is the highest education. I went into education, or whatever you want to call it. You know, I'm not the best speaker either, but you know, me and DJ Envy hooked up, and he says, Caesar, you have a great story. And I'm like, Envy, I can't talk in front of talk in front of a crowd or in front of people. And he threw me out there. So that's why we started doing these real estate seminars. You know, we believe a lot of times in our communities, when people make it out, they never come back and pull another one, you know, or help somebody else and show them the way. So that's one of the reasons that we started doing these seminars. So I got back into real estate when I actually got out of prison, believe it or not. You know, I know this face looks innocent, but that's when I got into real estate. So I came home and I started doing mortgages. This was back like 2006. This was the wild cowboy days. Things were great. I was making money. I was making $15,000, $20,000 a month coming out of prison. My wife just had a baby. My daughter was about 6 months. When my daughter was born, I was actually in prison. So I wasn't there for the first 6 months to experience that whole thing or to hold my wife down, right? But I come home, I start doing mortgages. Right after Halfway House, there was a guy in there recruiting people, which is a crazy story when you think about it, right? A whole bunch of guys doing mortgages that just came out of prison. So I started doing mortgages. It was going great. The market collapses, right? The whole robo signing, the whole stated loans, all that stuff pretty much destroyed the real estate market back then. A lot of people were buying houses when they shouldn't have, right? Pretty much at that time, if I buy a house and you see that I buy a house, you'll go and buy a house and you'll qualify, right? The first loan that I did back then when I started doing mortgages was for a lady that was 80 years old on Social Security, buying a $450,000 loan, no money down.
Wild West.
Absolute no sense, right? You know she can't pay this mortgage, but yet here we are giving her this loan. It was pretty crazy. Interesting times, right? Back then, you used to buy a house, the next day you had $100 grand worth of equity. No seasoning, not fixing the house, nothing. You could just refi the next day to refi.
Right.
Right? So that came to an end. My wife, Jennifer, my wife, is Cuban. I'm Dominican. We opened up a Cuban restaurant, right? We're like, oh, you know, no brainer. Her mom's a chef. And we opened up a restaurant. It went good for the first 3 months. After that, it went horrible. Worst investment we ever made. We pretty much lost everything. We held on for like about a year and a half. I seen an opportunity in real estate, and I jumped in. For the first deal, we did what we had to do. We sold our car, we pawned our jewelry, we pawned our engagement ring. I borrowed money from my mom. Anything to get that first deal done, right? A lot of times people are like, oh man, I can't do it, I can't do this. If you want to make it happen, you're going to figure out a way.
Absolutely.
Right? Once from the door, once you say the words, I can't, that's it. You're done. The minute you mention those words, right? Because you're already, the energy that you're putting out is going to not help you be successful.
Right.
Right? There's no such thing as I can't. You got to make it happen no matter what. So I did that first transaction. You can see the house on the house on the screen. I made $70,000. I closed that restaurant the next day.
Absolutely.
Walked away from the restaurant, left everything in there, money in the cash register, food in the freezer, didn't care. So then I've been doing real estate ever since that first transaction. So I'm pretty much self-educated, right? So I didn't have a mentor. Well, kind of, you know what, to tell you something funny, a funny story. I actually, when I was in prison, right before I was coming out, this guy came in and he inspired me. He had a couple $100 million in real estate, and we actually met in prison. So I taught him how to bid, meaning, you know, how to jail, how the prison system and, you know, the street side worked, because he was more white collar than anything else. So he taught me a little bit about real estate. We were together for about 3 months, but then after that I came out, and whatever he taught me in there, I had like in my mind already the real estate was the way. I always thought about real estate since a young age. My dad used to take me to look at mansions, right?
Yep.
That we couldn't afford. So we used to go look at these houses in Alpine, New Jersey, which is one of the priciest zip codes in the country. And one time I remember when we were younger, I think me and my brother were like 15, and we went to see this one house. You know, this was back like in the 90s. The house had an elevator, pool table, in-ground swimming pool, sauna, jacuzzi, everything you could think of, right? And they were only selling the house for $400,000, which, you know, to me and you right now, that's not real money, right? Not to be an asshole about it, but $400,000 is not nothing crazy. And my dad told us that we couldn't afford it and that we couldn't get it. And he didn't know how to get the money. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where, like, at that point, I was like, yo, that's never gonna be me. And then another time, another situation that inspired me too, we were living in this rental property in Clifton, New Jersey back then, and we were there for about 10 years. And the owner ends up selling the house, right? And then the owner breaks down to us every single rent payment that we made. And we actually paid his house off.
Damn.
Plus a little bit. And he sold the house, he made his more money, and here we are now renting from the next person, you know? And that kind of like bothered me a little bit. I had a chip on my shoulder, like, dude, that's never gonna be me.
You know, the funny thing is not to cut you off, I remember when I was looking for a house, and I told Caesar, yo, I want to go see this house. And he was like, yeah, I seen that house before. I said, what do you mean? He said, when I was younger, my dad used to drive us to that mansion, and we used to always look at it. And we almost bought that mansion.
Yeah.
And we almost bought that mansion. That house was crazy, that indoor pool and all that. But that's how it is. And I tell everybody all the time, when I get lazy or something that happens with me, the first thing I do is I drive to the most expensive and the richest areas and just look at those mansions and say, you know what? I'm going to pick those up one day. I'm going to grab me one day. And I say that all the time. And you should too. Gives yourself inspiration. And I'm not saying get out the car and go in the house, but I always drive by the rich areas and I just look at the mansions and be like, you know what? I'm going to own one of those. And that's what I did with this house that I live in now, that I just purchased. I used to drive up in that neighborhood, look at those mansions, and said one day I'm gonna buy a house right there, and I was able to buy one. But go ahead, bro.
Yeah. So that's pretty much how I started. I did that first deal. So then again, I'm self-educated. You know, I'm out there just hitting my head against the wall and figuring this shit out, right? So I bought, for my next project, I bought a house in a flood zone, right? I didn't know what the hell a flood zone was, the different flood zones, didn't understand it. All I know is I got the house for $30,000, put $20,000 into it, it's worth $50,000. I'm gonna sell it for $180, right? So the flood zone that it was in was flood zone AE, right? So in my mind, I'm like, AE can't be that bad. Anything with an A is good, right?
Okay.
No, it's not good. That is the worst flood zone there is. So in this particular, when I bought this house, renovated the house, ready to make my money, it flooded in that area that year 8 times.
Damn.
8 times. And that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was that every time it flooded, I would have Channel 4, Channel 7, Channel 12 News in New Jersey filming in front of my house about the flood in the area.
Right.
Here I am with my beautiful for sale sign in front of the house.
Right.
And my house is on the news every single time that it floods around there. So I took a loss, but I still made a shitload of money. So I did good on that house too. And that's when I learned not to invest in flood areas, right? So be careful, do your research in every single deal that you do. So on this particular deal, I'm gonna talk about numbers, right? The thing about in real estate, the most important part, you wanna learn your numbers. In that particular project, I had a guy that was a friend of the family, right? And he tells me, let's do Air Force heat in each unit, right? Air Force heat is pretty, you know, central heat, whatever you want to call it. It's pretty much the cheapest heat that you could get, right? If you do baseboard, for example, baseboard heating, the unit and everything with all the baseboards and all the different parts that you need, you're talking about $1,800. If you do radiant heating, which is pretty much the best radiators, if you want to talk about, you know, like in New York, it's pretty old school. Nobody really uses it. You're talking about $2,400, right, per unit. Right. Meaning for one apartment. Where back then when I started, this particularly, the heating systems back then were about $425, right? And now we're talking about a little bit about construction costs and, and contractors.
Right.
So it was $425 each unit. That means I would have spent about $1,400, right? So my guy tells me, since you're a family friend, you're like family to me, I'll do the whole house for you, right? I'll do the whole house for you for $8,000, just material. With labor and everything, it'll be $12,000. And then I'm just looking at him like, bro, something's not right, right? But this guy's a family friend, right? He's a family friend. Of course, he's going to help me out and he's going to take care of me. No, he wasn't.
No.
I was wrong. I knew something was wrong, so I did my research, and I ended up spending $2,800. He was going to crack me over the head for almost an extra $11,000, $12,000.
Wow.
And he was a family friend. So that's why the most important thing in real estate is learning your numbers, right? The toughest part in the business is dealing with contractors, right? That's one of the things where you need to learn your numbers, because people will rip you off, and that's either gonna make or break a deal if you're gonna be successful in that deal.
Now, you know what, before I want to go back to, I was telling you that when I went to see Caesar, every apartment was the same. Now, the reason why every apartment was the same, we'll show a little bit right now. What up, y'all? It's DJ Envy.
Flippin' NJ.
And now we're here in one of the properties that we own. This is 24 units.
Yep, 24 units, 6 storefronts.
Storefronts. And we just want to go over some of the things with rentals. And as you see, we're doing this apartment over. We'll show you an apartment that's done over so you can get a vibe and a vision. But we're actually doing this one. So before we get started, what are we doing here?
Well, this property, when I first bought it, the utilities weren't separate. So back then, when I first purchased the property, I got a great deal, but the owner had to pay for the utilities.
Right.
So that means I had to pay for the heat. So every month I was losing in the wintertime about $3,000.
Right.
Right, $2,500 to $3,000 every month, because I pay for the hot water and I pay for the heat.
Correct.
So over time, as all the tenants have been moving out, or I don't renew leases, I redo each unit one by one. And now, after having this property for 4 years, I'm finally done. So now I got rid of that bill. So every month I make that $3,000 a month. Or
Right.
no, 10 months out the year, or whatever one.
Right. So to break it down, at first the building, you had to pay the building's heat and hot
Yep.
water. But what we did was when each tenant moved out, we made each one separate. So each person has their own meter for hot water and heat, and they got to pay their own hot water and heat. Also, they got to pay the rent.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Because over time, yeah, all right, I got my portfolio, I got my 10 units, I got my 100 units. Now over time, how do I keep on making money?
Right.
And just something like this, now I'm gonna make that extra $24,000 a year, right? Another thing too is that people don't understand, about making more money over time, right? Increases, compounding interest, stuff like that.
Right.
When you're at a level where you have a lot of units, it's a big difference, right?
Right.
So for example, just to break it down to you, so how do I make more money from this property over time? Am I just making what I'm making now? No, right? For example, in where we are, we could increase the rent every year by 5%.
Right.
Right. 5%, when you think about it, 5% is nothing. But when you talk about a multitude of units, it's a big number.
Right.
For example, on this particular property, 5%, let's say I'm gonna give you round numbers to keep it easy, 50,000, right? 50,000 a month I'm making from this. I increase it by 5%, that's an extra 2,500.
Right.
I'm making an extra 30,000 a year, right? Boom. Next year, same thing. Increase it again, January 1st, 5%. Now I'm making 31,000 something.
Right.
Next year, I'm making 32,000 more a year, right? So in 10 years times, when just to give you guys round numbers.
Round numbers, right? Yeah, 10 years.
I don't have a calculator right here, even though
Right.
I have one here, right? You're talking about that's 300 something thousand
Right.
over 10 years, right? And that's just one property. So imagine if you want to do it on a smaller scale, let's say a 3-family home, and you're making $4,500 a year, right, between all 3 units, and you increase that at 5%, you're talking about that's an extra 2,000 something a year on that
Right.
on that one property. If you have 10 properties, that's an extra 20,000.
Right.
For us, we come from that, from hip hop. That's that Bentley right
Right.
there.
Yeah.
Just by us increasing the rent by 5%, that's right there. You got
Yeah.
Bentley money,
Yeah.
or Rose money.
Well, see, that's what we wanted to show you guys, and just to show you, if like this apartment here that they're doing over, this is a studio apartment, so this would be actually, I guess it would be your living room / bedroom.
Yeah, there's gonna be a Murphy bed right there.
Murphy bed. This right here is the kitchen. Well, this is the bathroom, and on the other side of that is the kitchen. All right, we'll show you one downstairs. I know a lot of celebrities, athletes, and artists hit me all the time and be like, yo, I want to do something bigger than just a 3-family or 4-family. This is a 24-unit building with 3 storefronts. Now, if all these apartments are rented out and all the storefronts are rented out, how much profit monthly do you bring in?
Oh, on this particular product, like gross, we're talking about 50K. After mortgage, taxes, and insurance, you're talking about 30. Rates are really low. At a 3.5% rate, you're talking about between 25 to 30,000.
So that's $25,000, $30,000 a month that comes in, meaning it doesn't matter what he does, it doesn't matter what he says, it doesn't matter if he breaks a leg, it doesn't matter, none of that. He gets that money regardless.
Yep.
Then when he passes away 30 years, 40 years, 50 years down the line, his daughter gets that.
Yep.
Then when she passes away 90 years from now, her kids get that. And that's called generational wealth, right? Yeah. So I'm gonna show them the apartment downstairs, and that way you can see a vibe of everything done and how it is. So follow me downstairs.
And, just to bring one more thing up, a lot of times at our seminars, people are like, oh, I don't want to be a landlord, right? So we tell them property management is peanuts, right? They're like, oh, what if a tenant moves out? And we're at the point in our portfolio that when a tenant moves out, we're actually happy because now we increase the rent, right? Before this tenant moved out here, I was only getting $750. Now I'm getting $1,000. So whenever somebody tells me, oh, I'm moving out, I'm happy.
Right.
Because I know I'm increasing
You're breaking the lease, and then the monthly cash flow goes up.
Anywhere between $200 to $500.
Right.
It's a home run.
Well, come on, let's check out some of the other apartments. Like I said, we're still doing work, so if it looks a little messy, that's the reason why. So come on.
Ain't nobody gonna tell ya how to get rich, nigga. Gotta learn it on your own. How to get rich, nigga. Ain't nobody gonna tell ya how to get rich, nigga.
So just to show y'all, this is an identical apartment. The one we were at was actually right above this. So this is downstairs. So like we said, this is the living room / bedroom. Then you walk through here. This is your bathroom, shower, all that, and then this is your kitchen. So this would be a studio. In Jersey, this gets anywhere from $750 to $1,100 for a studio apartment.
It's a great deal compared to New York.
Yeah, this is a great deal compared.
$2,500.
Yeah, New York, this would be about $2,000 to $3,000. But if you want to learn more about real estate and what we break it down, we don't only do the 3 families, the flips, and the 2 families. We also do things like this: 24 units, 50 units, 80 units, and then we're doing the school. So as we get more and more into that, we'll show you how we're doing that as well. All right. The reason why every apartment is the same is because I didn't understand that when you have multiple units. For myself, I don't speak Spanish. And for Caesar runs, he's doing so much. He doesn't have to explain to his workers, yo, paint every wall, this color, that color, this color. They already know. The paint color I use is this. The cabinetry I use for every unit is this. The toilets I use is this. The tile I use is this. And then not only that, I can buy it in bulk and save so much money. So it's not a matter of, I want this room to be red and this one to be yellow and this one to be green. No. It's a matter of, if I buy this gray paint, buy 10,000 gallons of it, I'm saving so much more money. If I buy this tile and buy however amount of tiles that I'm buying, I save money, and that makes sense. So when you're driving through New Jersey and you see a certain apartment and it looks like Caesar's or mine, 9 times out of 10 it is, because we save so much money on materials, and that's why the apartments are all similar, which is genius. But go ahead.
Yeah, because at that point in time, there's no overthinking.
Right.
It's pretty much, we know what they already know what we like. Let's get in there, knock it out, and that's it. It's automatic. Because that's one of the most important things is real estate is building and acquiring and get to that level where you have a system. There has to be a system in place in everything that we do. Mm-hmm. And that's the whole thing. So that's part of our system. And that's how we get to renovate and move quicker, because we're not overthinking. Right. A lot of people, before they get into this business or are scared to get into this business, they overthink, right? Everybody wants to be smart. Everybody wants to sound smart. But those are the people that never pull the trigger. And that's the whole thing. Mm-hmm. You can't overthink anything, especially in real estate. So people ask me, do I like to flip? Do I like rental properties? What is my preference?
Right.
I like to flip right now I'm flipping about 25 to 30 properties a year. Mm-hmm. When I first started, my focus was primarily flipping, but then it got to the point where I realized that to build long-term wealth, rental properties is the key. But it is a flipping market. There's a lot of money to be made when it comes to flips. Pretty much when you flip a property, I like to make at least $100,000 net after all of my investments and all my costs and whatever. Mm-hmm. I like to walk away with $100,000, right? That's my number. Your number could be different. Maybe you want to walk away with 20 grand. Maybe you want to walk away with 50 grand. Everybody's different, right? We're all on different levels. A lot of my deals that I get, especially on the flipping side, I get a lot of stuff from auction.com. I get a lot of stuff from Hubzu. I get a lot of stuff from Xome, XOME. I get a lot of stuff from HomePath. That's a Fannie Mae website. Mm-hmm. As far as flipping properties. When I look for a flip, I check the market. I check what's selling in the market. I check what's under contract in the market. Sometimes I even check what has expired in the market, because maybe I could pick up one of those deals. Somebody might be desperate, they couldn't sell property. Maybe I could come and lowball them and make a couple dollars that way too.
Right.
So when you look at flips, you want to look at 4 recent sales in that area. Mm-hmm. 4 comparable sales, 4 marketable sales, whatever you want to call it, right? So if the property that you're flipping is 2,300 square feet, you want to find another 3 properties or 4 properties that are 2,300 square feet that sold within a 1-year time span, mm-hmm. right? Within a mile or 2. Sometimes they might go a little bit farther out in appraiser, but let's say within a mile. That's what you want to look at. And something that's similar to your property. So that's how you know if it's a good deal or not. So how do you get comps or comparable sales? You could go on Trillia. You can go on Zillow. You could call your local, whatever real estate agent you have a relationship with. They could look up the comparable sales for you. Or if you want to get fancy, you could probably call an appraiser, but they might charge you for comps. But most of that information at this point now, everything is pretty much out there for free anyway. Mm-hmm. So it's not that hard. You don't want to go too crazy with flips. I know you don't want to overthink stuff, you want to make it as simple as possible. We do put a little bit more lender tending care into a flip property, right? Because usually those properties go to end users, which are actually going to live in the property, so you want them to be happy. You got to understand this thing too. You only can make an impression one time, right? So when somebody walks into that property, you got to make sure everything is perfect, especially when you're talking about a flip property, right? Because once they come in and it's dirty, there's a little hole on the wall, a chip on the tile, that could pretty much kill your deal. So everything has to be on point when it comes to flips. In North Jersey, I do a lot of flips in Bergen County, Passaic County. That's where we are primarily. Are great flipping areas. I think Florida is a great flipping area. Miami, Atlanta is a great flipping area. You have different areas. Chicago's a good area to flip to.
Pittsburgh now too. A lot of people are going to Pittsburgh, buying stuff in Pittsburgh.
Yep. So as far as flips, it's definitely a great time right now to flip. The market is crazy. Even though, it's a crazy time right now. We're just coming out of a pandemic, which is almost over, hopefully, right?
Yeah,
in the next couple of weeks.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed. But believe it or not, the market is crazy already. Rates right now, you're talking about 2.75 to 3%, which is ridiculously cheap money, right? And I'm like amazed last week, for example, right? The last 2 weeks, bro, I'm going to look at properties and there's other people there. People are there with their masks. People are buying. It's not stopping. Every attorney that I know, every realtor that I know, like I had a conversation with a couple guys this week and they're all like, yo, we are busy as shit. We are getting a shitload of contracts coming in. People are actually putting in offers and getting stuff on the contract. So remember, and right now, think you could probably still get, I think, a deal, but it's not going to be anything crazy. The next 2 weeks, it's probably going to be over. So this whole crisis didn't really affect real estate values. How most people think that it's going to affect it. It's not. It's not going to happen.
Do you think people are going to get a lot of foreclosures? You think it's going to happen?
No. Remember, they kind of did the right thing, right? At the beginning of this whole pandemic, they're kind of like, okay, forbearance, and then everybody's like, oh my God, we're going to have a balloon payment. We're going to have a balloon payment. They came back, they fixed that. They said, no, you're not going to have a balloon payment. The next 3 months, you don't pay, it's going to be added to the back of your mortgage.
Right.
And you got to understand, right? Even if there's going to be foreclosures in New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, a lot of states are judicial states, meaning it takes anywhere between a year to 2 years to even get foreclosed on. So there's not going to be any foreclosures anytime soon. So a lot of people, want to talk that talk. That's not going to happen anytime soon. So forget about that. And if it does happen, it's going to be down the line. You can't think that, you're going to get that home run deal waiting on somebody to get foreclosed on right now.
And the bank's lending right now?
Banks are lending like crazy. I got a whole bunch of deals that I'm refinancing right now. Banks are lending. The secondary market changed a little bit, right? As far as hard money loans, they're a little harder to get right now. You're talking about a couple months ago, you could have probably got 10% down, 100% financing on the rehab. That kind of changed a little bit. Now they want a little bit more skin in the game, especially if you're not a seasoned guy. If you're a seasoned investor and you've done a couple deals, you could probably still get the same leverage. But if you're starting out, now you're back at the levels where it was 25% down, like it used to be when I started.
Now explain to people what a hard money lender is and what that process looks like.
So pretty much as far as with a hard money loan, right? A hard money loan is a rehab loan product, right? If you want to buy a house and fix it, there is no conventional financing product for that besides the FHA 203K loan. FHA 203K loan, is 3.5% down, but you could only use that once.
Okay.
Right? So it's not really an investment product. So if you find that foreclosure that needs complete rehab, that added value property, you have to go hard money. So usually with hard money, a couple months ago, pretty much the most popular product was 90% loan to value, 100% on the rehab.
Right.
All right. So when I say 100% on the rehab, that pretty much means your construction budget, your construction costs, whatever you want to call that. That's what that is. You will put 10% down. You usually get charged about 2 to 4 points, depends on the lender. It's usually a higher rate, right? But this is the thing, a lot of people get scared when they see a 12 or 14% rate. But you can't get scared because when you think about it, one apartment will pay that whole loan. Right? And you're talking about smaller numbers. You're never gonna find a perfect situation in anything, right? Even in real estate. So when you buy the property, it's not the perfect situation, but eventually you make it the perfect situation, right? There's no such thing as the perfect deal. It doesn't exist. Real estate is numbers, right? But you're not gonna find that home run deal is just gonna be sitting there waiting for you. Oh, here's this beautiful property, take it. No. You got to go in there and get those messed up properties that you can add value to. That's what you need to do. But hard money loans are out there again. They are lending, just the leverage is a little bit different now. So a lot of people are like, all right, now we talked about flips already. For a hard money loan, do I use that product for a flip property? Yeah. Do I use that product for a 2 or 3 or 4 family property? I use it for that too. So on a flip property, the end result is you go in there, you buy with a hard money loan. Let me give you an example of a rehab schedule so you can see it on the screen. Pretty much the rehab schedule is the Bible, right? It's your Bible when you want to get it's part of your Bible when you want to get a hard money loan. Any hard money lender, any private lender is going to ask you for a rehab schedule, construction schedule. Pretty much you have to break down what you're going to spend, and once you do that, usually at the beginning of the loan, they'll approve it. What I like to do, if this is your first time around, always overestimate your construction budget, right? Because anything could go wrong. You don't know what could happen. I'll give you an example. One of my properties years ago, I rehabbed the whole property. I'm about to rent it. Next thing you know, the sewer line wasn't connected.
Right.
So here I am at the end. This beautiful property, gonna refinance, gonna get my tenants in there, and now I have to spend $10,000, $15,000. So you want to overestimate your construction costs. Another thing too is when you deal with contractors, you want to stretch that payment as much as possible, right? So you don't want to give a contractor half up front, half at the end. You never do that. Contractors are bad with money, right? So they're gonna take your money that you give them to finish another project and then take that money. So you never want to do that. So you usually want to split that payment into 4 to 6 different draws, right? So when you're rehabbing a house, you call up your lender, your hard money lender, and you tell them, I did my sheetrock, I did my electric, I did my plumbing. They come to the house, they look at it, they make sure you did everything, they inspect the property, they cut you a check, or they send you a wire, whichever one it is. So you do have to have a couple dollars in your pocket, right? So another thing that I usually like to do is I always overestimate my construction costs, right, by at least $20,000, right? So the reason that I do that is because it almost makes my deals 100%. So I'm showing you 100% financing. So I'm showing you a trick. A hard money lender doesn't care if your construction budget is $60,000 or $80,000. They want you to borrow as much as possible because they make more money from the interest.
Correct.
So if your loan balance is higher, they make more money, right? So by you adding an extra $20,000 from the example that I'm showing you, at the end of my loan, I'm getting back my down payment money. So even before I sell the property or I refinance the property, I get my down payment back. So that's a pretty cool trick, and it's pretty much 100% financing. At that point, that's really what you got. So if you flip a property with a hard money loan, once the property is sold, you pay off the lender, and your net proceeds, whatever is left, you keep that profit, right? So that's on the flip properties. So now we're gonna get into rental properties and using a hard money loan.
Right.
Same kind of scenario, 90% loan to value, 100% off the rehab on the rehab money. That's what they give you, right? That's what it was a couple weeks ago, but in the next couple weeks it's going back. Those programs are popping back. So you go in there, you got a 3-family property. I'm giving you an example now, what it would look like. You go in there, you fix the property. you refinance, you pull that money out, and now you take that money, you're not gonna go buy a watch, you're not gonna go buy a car, and then you buy more properties. So from the example that I'm showing you is, you take $60,000, boom, 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 and you buy 3 more properties. And you do that over and over again.
So for y'all that might not understand, might be confused. So break it down like this. Let's say he pays for a house,
Yep.
rehab and everything. It's done. It's worth 200. He paid $250,000, right? So now let's say it's worth $500,000. They give you 80% of what that house is worth, right? Right.
All right. So now you fast forward a little bit. So after the property is cash flowing, right? Everything is renovated. Now we're gonna go to an asset-based lender.
Correct.
Right. An asset-based lender is gonna go off the rental income of the property.
Correct.
Right. So some of these asset-based lenders, the cool thing is that you don't even need tax returns. They base it off the property. They base it off the lease, whatever you got each unit lease for. Right. So an asset-based lender is going to give you anywhere between 75 to 80% loan to value. So that's what Envy was talking about.
Right.
So now, what 80% of the 500,000, you're talking about 400,000.
Right.
So now, my property is cash flowing, right? I'm netting probably, let's say, $2,000 a month. I pull out 60, 70,000. I split that into 3 more properties, and I keep it going over and over and over again.
So that money that you refinance,
Yep.
you pull out, and you use that money to buy 3 more properties.
Yep.
So now you have this one property making you $2,000 a month. Now you pick up 3 more properties.
Yep.
So now it's making you $2,000, $2,000, $2,000, $2,000.
Yep.
So now you're making $8,000 a month, and then you do that with this property. You pull out the same money. Now you have $60,000, and you buy 3 more properties. You do the same thing here. You buy 3 more properties. You do the same thing here. You buy 3 more properties, and you keep doing that same thing over and over and over again. How many units do you say you own right now?
Well, see, the funny thing is, when I first started, I just wanted to make $5,000 a month. That's it. I was like, dude, I want to make $5,000 a month and I'll be happy. I hit 5,000 and I said, you know what? Let me try to hit 10,000. I hit 10,000, then 20, 50, 100, and I just kept on and on and on and on with the same system, right? Which is the, pretty much, I guess you could probably call it the added value system, right? You buy a shitty house, right? Like the deals that we get into. For example, this one right here. And you just keep on doing the same thing over and over again. You fix it, rent it, refinance, rinse, repeat, over and over. So I wanted to make 5,000, kept on hitting that mark. Right now I'm at 1,000 units, right? I'm 42 years old. Pretty much, I think next week is actually my birthday, so I'm gonna be 42. So my goal is, by the time I'm 45, I want to have about 5,000 units, rental units, right? I know for that goal, I have to go nationwide to achieve it. And the next stage in real estate that I got into was commercial properties.
Correct.
Right now we're going into commercial properties.
Explain what a commercial property is.
Commercial properties are 5 units and up.
Correct.
That's considered commercial property. So commercial properties are different than 4 units and under, right? Anything from a condo to a 4-family property is considered residential. Anything 5 units and up is considered commercial. Commercial properties are different than residential properties. They're not based on comparable sales. They're based on the income of the property. So whatever the property makes, that's what dictates the value of the property.
Okay.
For example, if a property is bringing in $100,000 a month, that really means that it's worth $1 million. So I don't care if you're in Atlanta, you're in California, and if you're in Detroit. If that valuation pretty much goes across the whole country.
Gotcha.
So you don't have to worry about different values in different markets. It's based on the income of the property. Totally different animal. It's harder to get deals in that arena. I got lucky a lot. I got a couple short sales at the beginning. One of my biggest deals at the time was this 30-unit building. You can see on the screen. When I bought that property, I got it for $1.8 million. I went in there, I put about $300,000 into this property, right? So in less than 2 years, I go back to my lender that I have at the time, and I tell them I want to take a line of credit. I just want to take out about $400,000, whatever I put into the property. They're like, no, you don't know what you're doing. Boom, boom, boom. You have no idea what's going on. I know exactly what I was doing, right? The reason that I got such a good deal on this property was because it was 4 brothers. They ended up having 6 kids each. So it ended up being a shitload of owners. Nobody wants to deal with each other. Nobody's communicating. Nobody gets along. So I knew it was a home run. After I get the property, I go to my lender that I have at the time, give me a line of credit. He said, no, you're crazy. You don't know what you're doing. I was like, okay. So I ended up refinancing on this property, which was the biggest refi to date I did at the time. I walked away with $2 million. And still, this property makes a shitload of money every month.
Wow.
And that was one of my biggest commercial deals. That's why I love commercial, because commercial is one of those things that if it's a good deal, it's a numbers thing. You do the numbers and you know if it's a home run or if it's not. Right. So pretty much, we're giving you a little bit of everything. We talked about flips. We talked about rental properties. We talked about refinancing. Now we're into commercial properties. So now I'm at the next phase of my real estate career, right? Which is developing. So for example, as you can see on the screen, this is the school that we're talking about.
Yep.
That you were talking about earlier. So pretty much on this, for this particular property, is something just on a bigger scale, right? But in reality, it's pretty much the same stuff that we were doing. It's just now that it's bigger, right? We're still putting up walls. We're still knocking down walls. We're adding bathrooms. We're adding kitchens. You know, it's pretty much the same thing, just on a bigger scale. So now instead of refinancing, you know, 50, 60,000, now you're refinancing $5 million.
Right.
And another good thing too is that we didn't bring up before, when you refinance on a property, there is no capital gains. You don't pay taxes on that money, no matter how much it is. If it's $50,000, $5 million, there is no capital gains. On a flip property or on a sale of any property, you have to pay capital gains, which you can always play with the numbers, right? But that's one of the advantages of keeping a property long term. A lot of times too, you know, you don't understand over the years residual income with real estate and how it grows, right? There's so many different advantages for keeping a property long term. So to give you an example, let's say every year you got 100 units, right? And you increase the rents every January by 5%, right? That's extra $50,000 a month. Every year, right? That's an extra, you know, whatever it is a year, over and over and over again. In 10 years, your property has gone up so much in value that now you can refinance that same property again and pull the cash out. So think about it, because, you know, in real estate, one deal is not going to get you rich. We're not going to bullshit you. It's about multiple deals. Like, we closed 5 deals today. We're already looking at the next 100. Like, right? It doesn't stop. You know, with real estate, you don't have to be like us and have multiple units if you don't want to. Maybe you could have 5, 10 units and you're happy with that. Right? But the key is to have multiple units, to be honest with you, and have that income coming forever for the rest of your life. Because in life, if you're a basketball player, a football player, a musician, a doctor, a lawyer, a nurse, a teacher, a cop, whatever you are, eventually your career is going to end, right? And your income is not going to be the same anymore, right? You're not going to make the same amount of money for the rest of your life that you made, you know, in the first 40 years, whatever you want to call it, right? So real estate is forever. These properties, especially when we talk about rental properties, will be here when we're not here anymore. They will be here when our kids aren't here anymore. You know, so real estate is forever. If you're not a slumlord, you take care of your properties, real estate is forever.
That's right.
Right? And it's one of the only vehicles that's really forever. I don't like stocks. I love real estate because I know if I buy this property, I put that much into that property, it's worth this much, right? If people ask, okay, but what happens if the market changes? If the market goes up, if the market goes down, the economy goes down? Yeah, on the flipping side, it might get affected because now people won't be buying as much as possible. But with rental properties, people still need a place to live.
Right.
Especially in the middle market, right? In the market that we're in, right? Because a lot of people are like, yeah, you guys are in the hood, you like hood properties. But people got to understand, right? As far as us as minorities, right? We're so negative in our mindset that we don't see the bigger picture, right? A lot of us, live in the same house. Our family members live in the same house for 30, 40 years. We sell the house for nothing. We leave the hood. We say, fuck the hood. We're not going back. The hood ain't the hood forever.
Right.
And we've seen this time and time again,
Seen it in
over
Brooklyn,
and over.
Jersey City, Harlem, Chicago, Detroit, Atlanta, Miami. All those areas had hood parts where the hood got rid of the hood, sold their properties,
Yep.
moved out, and they turned it around. The same apartment in Brooklyn that was the hood, they're selling for $2-3 million. Harlem, $1 million, $2 million. Detroit, I just told you I bought a house for $15,000-$20,000. $300,000-$400,000. Pittsburgh, the same thing now. Same thing in Chicago. Jersey City, Hoboken, Newark. Like all these areas have been turned around. We've been pushed out, and now it ain't the hood no more.
Yeah. And that's the whole thing, man. And we're the first ones to say we're leaving, we're not coming back. But any major city, any area that's close to a major city, it's always going to get better. I don't care where it is. And it's the same story across the country over and over and over again. Because, we're like, oh, no, but then that's messed up. You're fixing up these properties, you're fixing up these areas, and it's going to get gentrified, then we're going to get kicked out, right? You know what? That's just small thinking, right? You're being small-minded. Because what if, right, if we buy our properties and we control our areas, they won't get gentrified. But even if they do get gentrified, we make the money.
Right.
Because that's the problem. We don't make the money, right? Right now, when you think about it, Hispanics and African Americans, we're not we're called minorities. We're the majority.
Right.
But we have none of the wealth.
Correct.
At all, right? And it's just one of those things, man. Like, dude, things gotta change.
That's right.
And if we keep that small-minded mentality, being negative, overthinking things, looking at people that look like us and say, oh, we can't do it, they're full of shit. You can't think like that. We all need to come together and just think bigger.
That's right.
And it's a shame that we don't, and nobody is united, nobody helps each other, and we need to change that. And I think real estate is one of the biggest things or easiest things to build wealth.
Absolutely.
For real estate. And, it's numbers. You don't have to be the smartest person in the room. Look at me. I don't have a PhD. I don't have a college education.
Education, right?
And most of the guys that I went to school with and went to college, I make 1,000 times more than what they make. They actually all call me. When me and my brother were growing up and we were younger, in our families, we were the black sheep, right? Because we're the street dudes, doing whatever we had to do to, make it. And now, all of my smart cousins that went to school, no offense to any of them, they all call me for advice. They all want to invest with me.
That's right.
Right? And, it's crazy how things are, because I think now in this country, right, everybody has a college degree. Everybody's going to school, and everybody is in tremendous debt, right? And now you graduate college, and you're not guaranteed to have a good job anymore.
Right.
There's not enough jobs, right? And after this whole pandemic, it's just going to get worse. And it's just crazy, man. If you don't think outside the box, you're not going to make it. You're not going to survive. And then, I see a lot of people too, and I always talk to different kind of people like, yo, I've been in my job now. I'm about to retire, and I don't have anything. I don't have nothing to show for it. So, people got to think a little bit bigger, not overthink things, and just go for it.
That's right.
Because if you don't, especially now after this pandemic, there's going to be a lot of opportunity. There's always opportunity. Everybody has opportunity in life, but you just have to know when to seize it.
That's right.
And that's definitely something that we do very well at this office. We seize opportunity. We're always overthinking. Right now, the hot markets that we really like, that I think are of course we love North Jersey. We're in Patterson. We love Patterson. Patterson is definitely one of those places that you should look at to invest. It's going to change in the next couple of years. It's probably going to get gentrified, to be honest with you. But as long as we're here and people like us take advantage of it, I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Not at all.
We love Atlantic City.
Atlantic City is a great market.
Yeah, shout out to Marty. Marty Smalls down there. He's doing a
Miami,
great job.
Chicago's a great market.
I love Chicago. I think Chicago is a great place to start, especially if you don't have a lot of money. I think Chicago is where Patterson and Newark were maybe 5-10 years ago.
Right.
You could definitely go over there, pick up a 3-family, buy it under market value, fix it, do the added value thing that we were famous for over here, or we got rich out of. You could definitely do that in Chicago right now. I think Chicago is a great place to invest. And the rent, what I like about Chicago is, compared to a place like Cleveland or Detroit, is that the rents aren't that low. They're pretty close to our market.
Yep.
So, you know, you're starting about between 1,000 and 1,200, which is pretty good.
That's right.
But yeah, Chicago is definitely where it's at. Atlantic City, we like for developing. If people are watching this, you're from New York. You're in an oversaturated market. I wouldn't even touch New York right now. Your eviction laws in New York are crazy. Another thing too is people say, oh man, you know, I don't want to be a landlord. It's a pain in the ass to deal with tenants. Get a property manager. You get a property manager for peanuts. It's not a lot of money. You know, I have property managers. When I first started, I tried to deal with tenants myself. It was a nightmare. You know, shout out to my brother, Lucci Rentals. He's my property manager. It doesn't cost a lot of money to hire a property manager. People that want to invest in New York, I wouldn't invest in New York. New York is too high, oversaturated, too many investors. And plus, you have the craziest laws when it comes to tenancy, tenant in your eviction laws in the country right now.
Yep.
Especially after the pandemic. Before it was a year to evict somebody. I think now you're probably going to be at 2 years. New Jersey, you're talking about 30 to 45 days. To evict somebody, it's not that bad. You get a month and a half security. You know, it won't really hurt you. So Atlanta has pretty good eviction laws. So you always want to do your research. Want to make sure that, you know, the places where you do invest when it comes to rental properties are landlord friendly.
Right.
Yeah. So, you know, as we're wrapping up our first pandemic seminar.
That's right.
Hopefully there won't be another pandemic seminar.
I hope not.
Hopefully not. You know, we gave you a lot of information. But remember, at the end of the day, even though we gave you a lot of information, we taught you different tricks, different techniques, it doesn't matter, right? The secret to everything, or for you to get started, is you. If you don't go out there and pull that trigger, it's not gonna happen.
That's right.
So we want to see all you guys out there buying properties, flipping properties, renting properties, you know, developing properties, whatever it is, and just make it happen. You know, any questions, the team is here, you know, and everybody, we want to see you there tomorrow.
That's right.
You know, even though you bet against us, you're probably going to lose. But, you know, you still got to make it happen, man.
That's right.
When I first got started in real estate, just to end it, so you know, it took me 2 years to get my first deal. So I eventually learned, you know, different techniques and how to get it done.
That's right.
2 years putting in offers. Nothing happens overnight. So even though you see us at this level that we're at, it didn't happen overnight. It takes time, you know, and without any risk, there's no reward.
That's right. That is right. So we appreciate you guys for joining us. Again, shout to everybody that checked in. We will be doing seminars in your area. I know we got Miami, we have Atlanta, we have Chicago, we have Atlantic City, we have Jersey. So people say, well, what's the difference? When we go to those markets, it's a lot longer. It's a lot extended. We bring an attorney with us. We bring a real estate agent that breaks down those particular markets. And we go more into depth about what we do. We show the HUD forms and all that other stuff. So we'd love to see you when we come to your area, come to your town. And that's about it, man. You guys be safe out there. I want you guys to think about what you're going to do outside of this pandemic, all right? And we appreciate you for joining us. We appreciate you guys for joining us today, all right? I'm DJ Envy.
Flippin' NJ.
We'll see y'all on the next one.